Alright, I'm back. And oh, and I'm Emojin. Emojin is one of the Terran factions. Let me show you what that means. It means you get lasers. He doesn't have a laser. You get lasers. Let me restart so I'm normal Terran. And I am regular Terran. Okay. Okay. So in this video, and hopefully I fixed the microphone volume. The last one was ridiculous. It was super loud. Sorry. I have no idea. Okay. So I want to talk about Specters and Ghosts. They're really powerful when used together. A lot of these units are really powerful when used together. Marauders and Firebats, Specters and Ghosts. These guys are like a game of their own. Like, you don't even have to make units anymore. If you use these guys right, you could just level a base with just these two units. I'm not even playing. I mean, your opponent has to be kind of stupid, and you can always usually do it against the AI. You will need support, though. You'll need to have some tac nukes ready. So let me get some there. Let's start. Oh, look at the odds of that. Rip, look at that. Look at that. Okay, so yeah, Specters and Ghosts, they have random names generated to kind of create more of like a personal thing. Captain Brown, Captain Warfield, see what I'm saying? There's a list of like 100 names, okay? But for some of the fan... Wow, that it was meant to be. Okay, alright. Some of the list of fans, though, I've put some of their names in as potential Spectre or Ghost names. So here we go. Let's talk about the Spectre. Alright, Captain Thaitman. Alright. So the Spectre is was kind of inspired by the Commando from Command and Conquer. Anybody who played Command & Conquer knows what I'm talking about. They get into your base and they start planting charges and blowing everything up. They are different from the Ghost in most ways. They cloak like the Ghost, but they've got a different weapon. They've got a silent submachine gun, which kills like workers or Marines very quickly, but the Ghost does not. He's just got his little C-10 rifle that has more range and kills like roaches and stuff like that better. But I mean, this guy, come here. I can't get him to obviously fire as fast as with their enemies, but he'll shred a group. He has about the same damage per second as a Dark Templar does, but more split up since it's got a faster rate of fire. He does no damage to a tank, but that's okay, because what he can do to a tank... Let's get a tank out here. I'm going to set you up right there. I'm going to set you up right there. Okay. Alright, so the Spectre can plant... He needs energy. So I'm going to get this guy some energy.
Research complete.
Okay, there it is. And let's drop him some energy. Nope, wrong one. Let's get him some more. The odds of that's crazy. Just doing this tutorial video and all the tries, and on this one where I start off with the Spectre and Ghost, that's crazy. Alright. Okay, so he cloaks. You want to keep him cloaked most of the time. I keep him cloaked all the time because I am forgetful, and I always tell myself I'm gonna save energy. Like, let's say he's decloaked right now, and let's say I want him to go out like over here. I keep thinking, okay, when he's like halfway, then I'll cloak him, right? Sounds great in theory. I always forget. They always die. These guys are running up into this giant line of enemies, like, what the hell? And they just blow them away. And he's like, I have a cloaking device, but my boss has not ordered me to use it. I hate my boss. I hate my life. I just keep him cloaked. It's just the best way to go. Captain Johnson. Sure. Okay. Demolition charge. Same thing as a Marine leader. You use this to take out, and this thing can kill, this one-shots any land unit. He has to stay still for 5 seconds, though. That's the catch. So he's going to plant charges on critical points of this tank to blow the tank up. You can do the same thing to a starport or to this baby fusion core. Now, if a fusion core dies in StarCraft 2 Hardcore, it goes nuclear. It makes a nuclear explosion. It will kill everything you see on the screen. It is very important. Now, it generates energy rapidly, and it keeps your supply depots like always filled. So it's very important. And also, if you have an orbital scan like I have right here, let's get liftoff so I can make him go closer. Good.
Research complete.
Let's put him in the radius. When you combine an orbital scan, here we go. If you combine comm scan, well, scanner sweep is what they call it in this, with the fusion core, let me look. I scanned. Look at its energy. Now watch it not work because I said look at its energy. Dang it! What's draining it? Which of you is draining the energy? I have to figure this out. Oh, I bet you I know what's happening. The Spectre is draining the supply depot. Yep, that's what it was. The Spectre was draining the depot, which the depot is getting energy from the fusion. And once I got rid of that, then, yep, look how it's charging back. So you see 106, 113, 120. So that fusion core just pumps energy into that comm scan. It's almost unlimited comm scan. The problem is, if you build this so close to your orbital, you're usually risking your city. So you can build a fusion core out in the middle of nowhere, which is safer, and it allows you to have units that need a fusion core. Or you can build it next to your orbital. I usually build it next to kind of a useless expansion out in the middle of nowhere that I turned into an orbital. That seems to be the best compromise in my opinion. But anyway, you need an orbital to even make a Spectre or Ghost. You need an academy and you need an orbital. The orbital, even if you didn't require it to make them, you still need the orbital for a number of reasons. You're going to be scanning a lot of things that your guys are about to go into, so you know you're not going to walk right into a detector. It allows you to know if there's mines in the area, which also will detect them and blow them up. So you do need an orbital. You're also going to be calling down supplies every now and then, like you can right here, for more energy. See, he's got 364 and lowering, and then I just dropped him some energy, so now he's maxed out again. So you need an orbital if you're using a Ghost and Spectre anyway, other than the fact that it's the actual requirement for them. The Spectre's cloaking device, with his ability to... Okay, Thor, I'm sorry for this. I love Thor so much, but I just need to demonstrate just the raw power of Demolition Charge. Look, if a Demolition Charge can bring down the World Trade Center so fast, it can bring down anything, right? So, like, I've just attached this to this right here. Beast. I just blew your legs up and you're out of commission. Yeah, normally you can revive him, but I guess not, because I blew up my own unit. This Spectre right here is terror. It is terror. I have lost a Colossus several times to a Spectre. I mean, you could, if you've got an Ultralisk just chilling. Let me make one. Well, you can imagine. The Spectre is just death to if you don't have detection in an area and a unit is just chilling. Now, I'll be real. Trying to put charges on an Ultralisk that is moving every now and then is very risky, because all he's got to do, like right now, you have to come at him from behind so he doesn't smash you. The smash damage is what's right in front of him. So if he's doing this, yeah, I'm not even going to mess with that, because he could anytime just... It takes a long time sometimes to get a Spectre in place. But if you come up behind him and he's just chilling, he's just minding his own business while you're attaching C4 to all of his body parts, there he is. He's done. Even if he keeps moving now, he's got it and he's done. He's marked for death. So Demolition Charge on a Spectre is his most important ability. And really is all you need him for. It only costs 20 gas per use. per explosive. So it's a great bargain for taking out almost any building except maybe a supply depot, which I guess you can if you want to waste your time. But he's good for reconnaissance. He's also good for just taking out towns without detection. He's got a couple other abilities. I want to talk about them here. He can call down Marines if he needs to for whatever reason. That's the beauty of this. You can come up with for whatever reason. I mean, maybe you plan on doing something, but you need the Ultralisk to face another way so you can drop Marines. So then the Ultralisk face them. Maybe you need a distraction. Maybe whatever. You can call down Marines. Also, since Marines can capture Terran buildings, maybe you want to capture a town. Maybe you came across, and maybe the town only had one auto turret or something, and you blow up the auto turret with demolition charge. And instead of blowing up his command center, you're like, you know what? I'm just going to call down some Marines because I want to capture this town. And this Marine leader that comes with a group right here, he's just going to use his capture ability if you want. So there's that. So you can call down Marines. Ghost can do that too. Ghost and Spectre can both call down Marines. These right here are they're only useful, like artillery strike only works if you have, if you have any kind of artillery unit like a siege tank. Let me make one just so you can get a demonstration here. Let me get him in place. And let me get some Marines out here so you can see. Now, okay, this is going to be, I only have one tank. It's this ability works best if you have, the more tanks you have, the more ability, this ability actually makes a difference. It allows your artillery on your map to have unlimited range by the use of a Spectre or Ghost. So if I drop an artillery strike marker, I'm gonna go right up next to him and say, hey guys, don't mind me, and don't mind this smoke either. Yeah, you're screwed. Oh yeah, I forgot. The smoke does that. Let me see if I can't get better vision here. So that told my siege tank, yep, he's already firing. Okay. So the siege tank looked over here, and each artillery piece that you have is gonna hit a random target in that area 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. So that siege tank. Now this is unlimited range. I could be this, even though he's right here and the tank's there, I could be all the way over here and throw the smoke, and then the artillery will bombard that area. So it works in coordination with Thors, it works with siege tanks. I think I've even got it working with the SPG now. I can't remember if I ever got that. Oh yeah, I need to tell him to stop hurting those guys. Stop! Oh, you. That's who did it. Alright, not bad. Okay. So that's what the artillery strike does. It's basically cost free. It's the cost of your little smoke grenade. There's 2 other abilities that he can do. I just want to show this real quick. Let me get some. Now the gunship one is kind of. I mean, these are kind of cool abilities that I didn't ever have the heart to remove them because they do have some use and they are cool. The gunship one is kind of meh. But the airstrike one is pretty cool, even though it costs a lot. Okay, you've marked this for a gunship strike, and so it's going to come from your starport. The nearest starport is where it's going to come from. And there's a delay. There's a delay. There's a delay. There we go. Here they come. So the gunships come in, and they just fly to that marker in kind of stupid way, but kind of okay way. So if you're on the other end of the map, you just need like a couple cannons or a Templar taken out or whatever, and you throw a smoke kind of near them. Your gunships you can't control them, but it's kind of like a gunship strike. And then the other option you can do, which is even cooler, and they better not kill Fateman. They better not. I'm gonna just toss one of these airstrike markers here and then get the heck out of Dodge. It's like playing pool. You have to look at the angle of your starport to this, because Firestorm airstrikes, they do line damage. So I'm just gonna Actually, I want to be able to see what they're doing though. So let's stay a little close. Not too close. Level that area. If that was a city, it's not so much of a city anymore. So he has that ability, but it costs 200 gas per airstrike, and there's per firestorm. So there's 2 of them. That's 400 gas. If you don't have gas, it will not work. So there is that. So the Spectre, he's a pretty important agent, and really his price is pretty good. It's pretty fair. 75 gas, 25 mineral. He's a heavy micromanagement unit, like air units. He's his own game. If you combine his abilities, let's get him charged up while we start talking about the Ghost. If you combine his abilities with a Ghost, it is very deadly. Okay, so the Ghost can also cloak, obviously. He can snipe units. Why is this important? He can snipe Templar and he can snipe Observers. Combined with the Spectre, this is just cancer. Because sometimes all an expansion or base will have is just... Okay, so you use comm scan, you find the Observer, you snipe the Observer, you kill the Observer, you send the Spectre in, and you start planning demolition charge. It's violent. It really is violent. Now, a Ghost costs a little bit more, 100 gas and 25 mineral as opposed to 75. He does a little more, though. He is a little more dangerous overall. He can do an artillery strike the same, a gunship strike, and an airstrike the same. Maybe he can drop Marines. He does have an option for this scope view thing. It is a detector. Now, he loses his vision around him when he does this, but he gains vision of an area within 32 range away. So you see, and that area is detected too. So if there's a lurker there, he knows. If there's an observer there, he knows. So he can do that. It's kind of a... I don't use it much. Now, he can call down tactical nukes from the silo that we made here. Made some tactical nukes there. So I'm going to call one down so you can kind of see it. There's this useless thing right here. It's an investigative answer. Useless. Alright. So he can call that down. I believe it does 1,000 damage to buildings and 700 damage to units, something like that. So what that means, you probably saw that shadow. Yep, you see the shadow that went up in the air. What that means is it'll kill most command centers one shot. It does not one-shot a Nexus though, because of the Nexus shields. Those shields block. But for Terrans and for Zerg, for hatcheries, and for command centers, or orbitals, which are very vulnerable because they're also only 1,000, it can one-shot those. It one-shots a tank. Now, a tactical nuke is 150 gas and 25 mineral, so that is a really good exchange rate. This siege tank right here costs 125 gas and 400 mineral. So you're getting a good trade if you use tactical nuke on siege tanks. If you use it, it's wasted on like a bunker. Why would a bunker cost 50 mineral? I mean, unless that's the only thing keeping you from having like 400 Marines rush in and capture the city. I couldn't see why you would want to waste 150 gas tac nuke on a bunker. I mean, there's got to be a better way, you know. That's why I always have a Spectre with a Ghost, because the Spectre can use his 20 gas demolition charge on that thing, and the Ghost can cover. When used together, these are very deadly. They do have a sniper round, which it does do a decent amount of damage to larger units, but the thing is, it has to be facing, the head has to be visible for sniper round to work. I didn't actually talk about the Marksman, now that I think about that. It's okay. They're kind of a new unit. Basically, it's a Marine with the weapon of a Ghost, basically. But the Marksman, who also has sniper round and also view, he's like a Ghost light. Like, if you can't afford a Ghost and don't want any of his abilities, but you just want to snipe, you get a Marksman. Also, Marksman in bunkers are really good against, like, roaches, because they one-shot roaches with their rifle. They get the critical headshot. If the Ultralisk... Let me get an Ultralisk out here. And let me get this Marksman right here. Come on, Ultra. Let's get it done. Here we go. If you try to headshot an Ultralisk while his head is not visible, like right here, It won't do any damage. And see, no damage. Nothing. Wasted. In order to do damage... Now, snipe was adjusted so armor does have a factor, because let's face it, an Ultralisk skull is going to be more armored than a human skull, right? So, and it didn't seem right. It was really a nightmare back in the day when ghosts, you could just make like 5 ghosts and just instantly snipe an Ultralisk. It was just stupid. Okay, so now he does that. He does lose something. He loses 70. It's not bad. It's definitely better than what Marines are doing, which is 0. So he can do something, but the head has to be visible. It has to be basically at an angle of a little bit more than the side, like a little bit more than here, like that. He'll get the damage if it's like that, but if he's like that, he's not going to get the damage. So snipe, I never talked about snipe, but it has been adjusted so that the head has to be visible to the shooter. Otherwise, it won't do any damage. No, the game is not broken. That was intentional. So that is the Ghost. That is the Spectre. I wanted to talk about counters because new Zerg players have a rough time dealing with Ghost spam. And the reason... Now, they've been given better detection options now. There's really no excuse. But back in the day, in the Dark Ages, they really didn't have... What you would do is the Ghosts would come in, they would snipe all the Overseers. But I believe that a Hive now, I can't remember the values, but I believe that the Hive detection range is 17, but the Tech Nuke launch range is 16 or something like that. So to nuke a Hive, you actually have to go into the danger zone and be visible. So at least the Hive is safe. Hatcheries and all that, that's different. But I'm trying to think about ways of talking about countering Ghosts without getting into talking about other units like Lurkers and stuff, because I'll do them next, do them later. Let's see here. Every unit basically counters a Ghost or a Spectre for cost. They're not assault. They are a stealth unit that has special abilities. Even a Marine, a lone Marine, basically will. Well, not really, because he'll one-shot the Marine. But basically, like 4 or 5 Marines will kill a Ghost. Okay, so there's really. It's not when talking about a counter. It's not about type of unit. It's more situational. Getting detection to it and then killing it. Its Tac Nuke and Snipe for a Ghost can make it very dangerous and difficult sometimes because, like I said, you can send an observer and he can just scan and snipe the observer. Like, you gotta send more than just one observer. You gotta, something to that effect. Oh, come on, stop with your stalemate messages, Blizzard. I have to always look busy. Get mining, guys. Okay, so there's that. Let me think about Protoss in relationship to Ghosts. You could always obviously just start... a good way, if you know where a Ghost is, if he's just stupidly shooting it like a bunker, because he's stupid, just use a tank to run him over. You can see the little muzzle flare, and just run him over, and then he'll be dead, and then you'll be happy. So you can use tanks to run them over, or Ultralisks to run them over. If, for example, he decided to fire a Tech Nuke at the Ultralisk and you see that little tiny red dot blinking on your Ultralisk, you can guess. You got nothing to lose. You can just run around and try to guess where maybe he is, and because if you kill him, then obviously it loses guidance and it doesn't hit him. So it's something. Another thing is you can actually run away from the Tech Nuke if you're fast enough. The Tech Nuke is now guided. It is a guided Tac Nuke, so let me do a demonstration here of what I'm talking about. First, let me kill one unit, or let me hit one unit that's moving. So let me launch a nuke at him. So I'm going to move him around within a safe range to where it won't cause the missile to be like, where did he go? And where'd he go? You gotta be kidding me. Of course it doesn't work now. Is it because I'm a teammate? Is that what it is? Well, let's do this again. So I moved away from the original location here. Right? There we go. Okay. So it guides to the target now. but you can still escape this terrible thing if you spot where the nuke is. So I'm going to do that for this tank now. Okay, so, well, you actually kind of saw that the first time. Oh, Theitman, go find yourself a medic. This ghost is reckless. There you go. So we're going to launch a nuke at this tank, and I'm going to just show you how you get out of trouble here. So we launched the nuke at the tank. The tank's like, I'm getting the heck out of here. These people are crazy, just shooting at each other. I didn't sign up for this crap. So he's just moving, and he's moving, and he's moving. And he's gotten far away enough from the target that ghost lost. Basically, the ghost lost sight of it, and so too did the nuke. So the nuke doesn't guide to anything, it just doesn't go anywhere. And the tank is safe. So that is one way to escape certain death for a lot of these tank units. I mean, if you spot where they launched that nuke, right when they launch it, you go into tank mode, and you just move him far off on the map somewhere and just hope. Just hope he had enough time. I believe he has to get 30 range away in time. So, like right now, I believe he just got into the safe zone. So, once he gets out of sight of the ghost, he's good. So that is one way of avoiding the new guided nuke. So there is that. On the subject of nukes, that's a tactical nuke that I showed you with a ghost. A tactical nuke is a small nuke. It's just meant for taking out something important, like an Ultralisk or something like that. A strategic nuke is the big nuke. It destroys cities. It's the kind of nukes that you're probably thinking when you think nuclear bomb. I will talk about those now, actually. I could do that no, I'll do that later. I'll do that for the finale, because I'm going to blow everything up with it. So that was the Ghost. That was the Spectre. I am sure I could probably talk a lot more about them, but I don't want to. I mean, it's pretty obvious what they do. They're your infantry spellcasters. You know, if you micromanage them well, you can do all kinds of crazy things with them. I highly recommend dropping them with a dropship, and when I say with a dropship, I don't mean, okay, this is another thing where I guess if you play enough, you'll Theitman, why are you not healing? Why is the medic not healing you, bro? What's wrong with this? Why does the medic not like you? Dude, you're just like, oh, because you're cloaked? What? Could the medic not see you? Okay, this is strange. I found another little bug here. That was alright, whatever. Okay. She healed the ghost, but she didn't heal the... Okay, whatever, I'll deal with this later. So, yeah, if you're delivering ghosts and specters to a site, don't do this, okay? Don't take them in the dropship and say these are bad guys, and say you wanted to deliver them there. Do not do what I just did and say, hit the unload button there. Because here's what it's going to do. It's going to slow down. It's a sitting duck for spore crawlers. It's going to get blown up, and then it's going to slowly... No. That's not how you drop a ghost. Let me show you how you drop a ghost or a specter in a more professional way that ensures greater success, because this is a walkthrough tutorial, and I'm trying to allow new players at least a chance of making it here. So I like to queue up movement areas so it never wants to decelerate, and while it's already moving fast, I drop it while he's moving. And then when I'm done, I get him, just go home now. Now he's on the ground, and he's already in business, and you didn't even have to stop. He just basically parachuted out of that dropship. Didn't even have to stop. That is how you drop units off in hot areas with lots of anti-air. And with a Ghost or Spectre, in my opinion, it is worth even losing the dropship just to get a Ghost or Spectre into a really behind-the-lines position in time. You can walk them, and sometimes I do that because I'm lazy and I didn't want to make a starport or a dropship. So I will walk them sometimes, but it is so annoying when they die, because you thought, I just spent 5 minutes walking this guy all the way across the map. Hey, he's hiding. He's smart. He's like, those people are crazy. They're just shooting each other. No reason. They got this Ultralisk there. Doesn't look friendly at all. Just looking at us like dinner. Is he going to eat us sometime? Probably. Okay, so yeah, if you're gonna use Specters or Ghosts, I really recommend using dropships, and to not use them stupidly. So use them the way that I just showed. So there's that. So I think we're good on infantry now. I've talked about this. Oh, this drop menu option. This is. I added this because it's kind of cool. You're basically. Okay, so the rally point for your barracks is where you want a group of Marines to drop. So let me demonstrate. Okay, so I've got the barracks rally point here, right? And I think I have to turn off that so it does it right on time. What this does is, instead of training your 25 Marines right here, is it will a dropship loaded full of 25 Marines will show up at the barracks and then fly to this location and then very slowly and stupidly drop right here. The reason what this is kind of like renting a dropship. See how it costs 100 mineral and 25 Marine to drop these Marines there? This is like renting a nearby dropship without having to buy one yourself. And let's get this going faster here so you can see what I'm talking about for yourself. If you're going to drop into a really hot area, this is another way of doing it and minimizing cost. There it is. Okay, so the dropship shows up. It's fully loaded. You can't control it. Okay, it's doing its own thing. He's got his mission to meet. He's going over here. He's going to very stupidly and slowly just start dropping these Marines at this location. So he's going to do his drop, and then when he's done, now sometimes it's been known to bug out and he'll just stay on the map forever because he likes to, and you can't command him. No big deal, it's just one supply. And yeah, you can get these guys going if you want. So they're on their way doing their mission, and then when he's done, he's going to kind of fly back. He's supposed to disappear at some point, but like I said, it kind of does what it wants sometimes, and it doesn't just disappear. There he goes. He's going back up into orbit. There he goes. Go away. If you're supposed to, go away. And I think he went away. Yeah. Okay, so it worked that time. Sometimes it doesn't always work. So that is what that option is. That drop menu is what that is. It's for people who are too lazy to make their own dropship and do it themselves, and they just want to attack area but with a dropship. It allows Terrans to be a little bit more amphibious with ease. I kept it because it's kind of a cool alternative. You never know, maybe some people might use it really well or interesting. And it splits the cost. Obviously, it's cheaper to buy the dropship and buy the Marines and then do it yourself, because you keep the dropship and you paid, know what. So with this one, for every 25 Marines, you're paying 100 mineral. You're paying more than twice, almost 3 times the value. So you're paying more, but like I said, if you're dropping into a dangerous area, it could be more worthwhile because you're just renting the dropship, so to speak, from another area. It's not yours. So there's that. That's the drop menu. I think we're good with infantry. Yes, you can make medics on your own if you want to replace them because you lost them and you just hate to see your guys suffering and in pain. Oh, I didn't talk about stim. Shoot. Okay. That is kind of important. So stim works differently in this than it does in StarCraft 1 or vanilla StarCraft 2. Stim just affects movement speed. So as you see, Terran infantry are one of the slowest kinds of infantry in the game at 1.25. Now, if you've got this guy running and he needs to get to the other side of the map fast, you hit stim. It costs him 1 health, and now he goes up to almost move speed 2, which is a zealot is move speed 2. So for 60 seconds, he will now move at about the same speed as a zealot, and it only cost him 1 health. Now for him, he's a Marine leader, so that seems reasonable, but for a Marine who's only got 5 hit points, here we go. Go catch up to your buddy. Get him going, stim him. You missed it. Just if you wanted to know, you missed it. So he's still running. We're going to move him into that enemy base and see what they do. See if he makes it back. I doubt it. He's going to die. So stim, it lasts 60 seconds. So he's still got it. So it's good to get across we see how we started over here. He's still got the speed. So if you need to get from one end of the map to the other, there it goes. So yeah, you can see the distance from about here. I'm going to stop him from about here to there. Ish. I can't remember where. So you're looking at about maybe a third of the map distance, and he's still going too. He'd probably go further because we stemmed him first. So it's stim is now not meant to just make your Marines attack faster, which makes no sense. The rifle would not all of a sudden be able to function faster now because they put drugs into their system. That's stupid. Stim is now just movement. That's it. It just makes Terran infantry suffer from their slow speed because they're little weak human legs, right? Even in their advanced suit, they're still they just don't even cut it compared to Zerglings or Zealots in their advanced cybernetic legs and all that crap. So this stim is just a way to help them be not so pathetic. So there's that. Not a lot of people use stim. To be fair, I don't. No, actually, scratch that. I do use it quite a bit. I do. To me, 1 hit point loss is worth getting a whole group of Marines to where they need to be now to capture a city to whatever, as opposed to that 1 hit point, which isn't going to make a huge difference to show up at the wrong time and all be killed or something like that. You know, it's just, to me, it's worthwhile if you really need to get a group of Marines from one end of the map to the other. And obviously, because Marines only have 5 health without their shield, you can only use it 4 times. So there is that if you've got no medic. Yep, so there's that. Done with infantry. Now I'm going to move on to the big one, which is the factory. The factory has got a ton of goodies. I'm very proud of the Terran factory now. It allows so much more fun Terran gameplay. So the factory, let's go through each unit one at a time. These top units up here, these first 4 anyway, don't require an armory, and all the others, they do require an armory. So it takes a little longer to get to the more advanced stuff. And there's this mech menu right here. You got a whole menu of mechs. Yes, Mech Warrior. I was a huge Mech Warrior fan, and I absolutely had to have mechs in here from like Mech Warrior. I absolutely had to. It just makes it so much better now. Even though the mechs are still finding their way, and I'm still trying to get them just right with like a purpose and a unique purpose from the other mechs and so on. I'm happy with how all the new tanks and mechs have come. But let's go with some of the known ones first, like the Vulture. And let's get that code in here so it doesn't take a lifetime to make one. So the Vulture is actually, right now, it's underpriced. In fact, 25 mineral, 25 gas is a steal. It's a steal. It's going to have to go up in price. It's just, if you compare it to a buggy, it just does so much more than a buggy. I have never upped the price yet. I keep forgetting to, and I keep putting it off, looking into the price and determining, you know, should the mineral go up, should the gas go up, why is the price going up, how much should it go up. I have not done that yet with the Vulture. Right now, it is just underpriced. It is a high-value unit, and here's why. It is a ground detector. Okay, it's a hover unit, which means mines. It doesn't set off mines. It's hovering. If you can see that right there, it is hovering off the ground like a little air speeder from Star Wars. Okay, and it hovers so it doesn't set off mines. It's a ground detector. This is used for lurkers. Now, it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. What you have to do is something like this so the lurker can't hit him. But it will detect the lurker. So at least you have some way, without having to get a Raven or a comm scan or something more expensive, you have some way of being able to see a lurker. Now, lurkers are defensive units for Zerg. They're what keep the Zerg alive early on. They're intended to be difficult to kill early on because they are defense. Lurkers are a defensive unit for the most part early on. Sure, you can use them in an offensive way. Oh, see? Look at that. I got him in his little pattern I was talking about. See? He will never stop now. Dang it. I had to say that. Why did I say that? So that's the Vulture. His obvious most basic ability is planting mines. And this right here is probably your most valuable. That one mine will blow up a tank. That one mine right here, 110 damage. Alright, Ballista, 80 hit points. Where'd my siege tank go? Siege tank, 100 hit points. That one mine, 110 damage. It will blow up a vehicle. It will blow up a tank. It will hurt an Ultralisk. Obviously, you need more than a couple. You know, you need 9 or 10. You need 10. But that one landmine, let me show you the cost here. It takes energy, obviously, you know, ammo. So you go back to the depot and you reload back up. No more of the days where you only get 3 and that's it. That was so much garbage. I don't know why even in StarCraft 1 they couldn't figure out a better way. He does have enough supply for 3 at a time, but it also costs 5 gas per mine. But that's still a great deal. That mine will also, let me set up so you can see how this works against infantry here. Are all my artillery units on hold fire? Because I'm about to make enemy units here. Let me see where they spawn. Okay, right over here. I'm going to kill these poor fools. He has a grenade attack, as I'm about to demonstrate. It's nighttime, so they can't even hardly see so they're running. I can see them. They got an overseer. Eric, please die, guys. I need you to die. You know what? I got a better idea. I'm going to plant a mine, and then I'm going to see if I can stop killing them. See if I can't lure them into following me back without killing the... Okay, here we... Well, this isn't a... Never mind. This is a bad demonstration of how good a mine is. Oh, I just want to show how well... Alright, let me just make some zealots here. Boom! That... I didn't even finish warping in. They're already dead. It will kill that whole cluster of infantry. It will kill a tank. And it provides vision. Let me put one out in the dark so you can see how much vision. And then I will run him back there to get him repaired and resupplied. The vision is also important because you can actually use that to be a punk once he goes burrowed. Okay, see? You can still see this little area. That's free reconnaissance. And if you combine that with a siege tank, get him in a siege mode here. What you've got right here is now you could just keep pummeling his city, and he's like, how does he have vision? You know, like, how does he have vision? He's not scanning. He doesn't have any air around. They always say, how does he have vision? You could just put something like a mine right there for vision. So it provides vision, which is also useful for artillery too. So he's a detector. He's fast. Move speed 9. He's very fast. When I say he's fast, he's very fast when he gets going. And he's got that fragmentation grenade, which is 15 damage versus a light unit. It's 1 versus everything else. So it's a shrapnel grenade. It doesn't do much. Yeah, he doesn't see much at nighttime though. He needs some help here. Where'd those? Oh, get it, weren't they? Okay, let's get him home and repaired, right? So the Vulture, it's a very fast unit. He can skirmish units like Zealots. Not really Marines, as you just saw right there. They're too close in range. His range is 7 and the Marine range is 5. So he can still do something to some Marines. He's better against Zealots. Zerglings are too fast for him to really matter. Hydralisks, I wouldn't fool with it. His attack is kind of... You can use him as skirmish Zealots. I'll leave it at that. You're really getting a Vulture for his mines. His mines are ground detectors as well. So they will kill Specters or Ghosts or Dark Templar creeping around. They're very good at very quick defense. Like if there's a lot of Dark Templar in the area and you don't have the time to make a Perdition turret, and you know what? I really need to talk about the defenses before I continue with the vehicles. That would actually be very helpful, yeah. A spider mine is a really good form of ground detector that could very quickly keep you from dying to Dark Templar or something quickly. So the Vulture is a very high value unit. I always have at least one Vulture throughout the whole game. I always have one. And I'll just put mines at areas I know are going to be visited. There's no reason not to. This right here is just a little, not life hack, but it's just like a little game hack right here. This Vulture, even if his price doubles, he's still worth it. He's still absolutely worth it. He does so much for just one unit. So there's that. the defenses. Bunkers, here we are, 350 hit points and 4 armor. It's just a big clump of steel that Marines shoot out of. This thing is, bunker is one of the most, for its cost, damage absorbent unit in the game. Bunker spam is so annoying sometimes when you're fighting against it, because your units will just want to attack the first thing that they see, and they'll waste all their damage on the bunker. I always keep, like, if the enemy is over here, I have a turret behind the bunker. I see new players, they put the turrets in front of the bunker. I always get a kick out of that. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but from like a... maybe they thought it was so real that I mean, if it were up to me, yeah, the bunker could only shoot with line of sight. If it were up to me. Unfortunately, I haven't found a way to do that yet. So there might be a time where, yes, you want to keep line of sight with the turret, but for now, it still does use old StarCraft 2 mechanics where, it can attack targets on the other side of the bunker. But you want to keep the bunker in front of the turrets, because the bunkers take the damage and the turrets deal the damage. Okay. If it's the other way around, it's a disaster. They'll kill the thing that's killing them right off the bat, and the bunker's useless. You just got 4 Marines, and they're shooting their little rifle, and it's really not that much damage. But bunkers take a lot of damage, and they're only 50 mineral. Here it is. Hold on, where we go? 50 mineral. You can also, in StarCraft 2 Hardcore, you can build walls. So let me demonstrate this right here. So yeah, if your bunker didn't already take enough damage, you can also make them even more, like, you can funnel your opponents. Each wall is 100 hit points and 6 armor. So, yeah, 1 tank round is going to take out a wall, siege tank round that is, right here. 110 damage or 125 versus armor, so it'll take out a wall with 1 hit. But against, like, Zerglings or Marines, walls are just there to stay. And so it forces them to have to go around, or can only attack so much of a building, or go through a certain maze of death. So yeah, walls are also very useful for making defense and making a position. There they are at 8 mineral. So yeah, the wall is the most hit point. How do I say this? I know there's probably a term out there for it, but when a unit is really good at taking hits per cost, that's the wall. The wall is probably the best one per cost. You can make, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 to 6 walls for 1 bunker. 6 times 8 is 48. So yeah, 6 walls for 1 bunker. So that's 600 hit points at 6 armor, when a bunker is 350 hit points at 4 armor. So yeah, a wall is hands down the most cost-efficient unit in the game when it comes to taking damage. It's not a unit; it's just neutral. Let me demonstrate this so you can understand or see for yourself. It is. That might take too long. It's a neutral unit when you finish it, so it's not owned by any team. It's just an obstacle. That's it. You're just creating an obstacle on the map. It's just kind of a pain in the butt for anybody trying to attack you. And you don't get any vision from it or anything like that. It's just there. It's a wall. That's all it is. And yes, in a future version, you will be able to have a gate and lower a wall section. So that is coming at some point. I gotta look more into that. It's not high priority, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So auto turret, I did talk about that in the past video. The auto turret, but let me actually just go into it specifically. The auto turret is a very, very good defensive unit. Probably the Prisma Cannon is probably my favorite defensive unit in the whole game in terms of how useful it is. It's how multi-purpose it is. I love the Prisma Cannon. For those who don't know, it is this thing that it's this anti-light set of shots that just shreds Hydralisk Marines, that kind of stuff. It's got 3 armor. And it also shoots down missiles. So the Prisma Cannon, which is 100 mineral and 25 gas, is, in my opinion, my favorite defensive unit. I'm not saying anything's really the best. It's just things are different. But it is my favorite, though, just because of I have used. It's so useful. That's all I can say. I just use it. It just complements my strategy well. How I like to have Templar hiding behind somewhere, and Prisma Cannon is up in the front. shooting down incoming missiles, keeping my Templar safe, that kind of thing. The auto turret is 50 mineral, so it is a lot cheaper than a Prisma Cannon, which has a range 11, okay, and it has range 10 for ground, range 15 air, but its rate of fire and damage per second is much higher than a Prisma Cannon. They both cost the same in ammo, and they both can shoot down missiles. The only thing is the auto turret is only 20 hit points and 2 armor. So Marines can't do anything to it, basically. Anything else can, and most things one-shot it. A Dragoon shot, one-shots it. A tank shot, one-shots it. A Stinger missile, one-shots it. They're very easy to kill, but they kill a lot of units fast. So they're very handy. I like to just kind of build them everywhere randomly. Or not randomly, I kind of like to spread them around in areas, important areas, just around random points in the city. I like to hide them. You can hide them behind buildings, so they're not very visible to a player who's not really rotating the camera around or looking. I like to hide them behind factories or command centers or starports on the top side where you don't really see them, so it'll have a chance to do more damage before the player actually targets it. And he's wondering when all his guys are getting gunned down where the shots are coming from. It's from on top of the starport. That's where that auto turret is. So auto turret is a very handy unit. It's only 50 mineral. Now the range upgrade for it does increase its price. It doubles it. But what it does is right here. Adds 50% range to the auto turret. So this auto turret now is no longer range 10 for its ground, but range 15. And it's insane. It really is. It has a damage. It's a Gatling gun. It's the same kind of gun that's like on the A10 tank killer. Okay, that kills tanks, hence the name A10 tank killer. So it's a Gatling gun. It can pierce through tank armor, 7 damage, and a tank here. Well, this one has 3. It's an SPG, but the siege tank, 4 armor. So it's going to do 3 damage per shot, and it's got a high rate of fire too. So I mean, it will melt a tank very quickly. It melts a lot of armor quickly. Only a very heavily armored Ultralisk is immune to like an auto turret, but it's a very dangerous gun, and it can be upgraded too. It can be upgraded to a flame turret. So let me do that. Hold on, let me get another auto turret here. Another auto turret, so I can show you 3 kinds. So you can upgrade it to a flame turret. Thateman, you want to get out of here because I'm about to play with fire. Medic. Looks like your service is no longer needed. Oh yeah, there we go. It has a nice long flame right here for very cheap. Okay. The difference. Let me get a perdition turret here because they're similar in function in some ways, but the perdition turret doesn't have as much range. Let me get a unit over here. Oh, that's right. Its attack is automatic. I don't think I can. Yeah, I can't tell it's attack from the unit. Well, that's kind of poo. Its radius is a little different. It's wider but shorter range than the flame turret. Let me get this going here. So that's longer range. It's more of a line attack, that flame turret. The perdition is more of like a wider area. But the perdition turret is a detector. It's a ground detector. It will keep Dark Templar out, Spectres out. It's also kind of a surprise sucker if a bunch of Zerglings come into an area and they thought it was just a bunker, and you've got. And I usually like firebats. I like to make 2 of them. 1 is usually not enough. 1 will usually get overwhelmed by Zerglings. 2 is a magic number, like with firebats. The 2 work so well together. They just incinerate. It's just nonstop dead Zerglings, and they can't get enough to get through the flames to get to either one of them. They have to be hit by ranged units to take those out. So the perdition turret, it's a ground detector. Always keep them around sensitive buildings like a command center, a factory, a starport, and definitely a fusion core. Oh my gosh. Since these things nuclear explode when they die, when you're fighting against the AI I think is constantly trying to find ways of getting your fusion core with a Dark Templar or a Spectre. Always. The AI is never ending. You have got to put perdition turrets or mines around this thing so that it won't try. It won't even try. It won't. That's how you keep them safe. And it's good practice too, because against a human player, a human's going to want to do the same thing. So there's that. Perdition turret. Yeah, it's good for keeping out cloaked guys like Dark Templar, Specters. Good for Zerglings, that kind of thing. The next kind of turret you have right here is a grenade turret. And it's basically like a mortar. I talked about this in the last recording. It's really good at killing clusters of infantry. It can still do a good amount of damage to tanks. This right here is a pain in the butt to... It's kind of like a High Templar. In its own way, this is like a Terran High Templar, but ground only. And it costs 20 mineral per volley. Let me demonstrate this on this group of Marines here. Ghost, get out of there. Captain Johnson, idiot. Alright. And let me put a tank in, or put something in there with there so you can kind of see what we're talking about here. So, grenade turret, I'm going to attack the tank. It will kill most of the infantry around, and it will cripple the vehicle, the tank that it hits. So the grenade turret now costs 20 energy, 20 mineral per shot. So you really need to do a lot of damage with it, otherwise you can waste a lot of resources on needless stuff. Range 35, basically equivalent to 3.5 kilometers in real world scale for like a mortar. That's the reason why it has its range. It is used to defend against a number of units that are difficult for Terrans. The first one coming to mind is the Archer. Okay, the Archer is a pain in the butt unit for early Terrans. It just is. The Archer can skirmish Marines, and they're just a pain. Everything about them is a pain. No, that's right, they can't attack allies. Do I got any enemies left? Nope, no enemies left either. Well, I can at least kill them though, so you can see my point. Archers are a pain, and look at the radius of this grenade turret. It's basically a stay away with your archers, or I'm going to kill you, like that. I mean, a whole unit of archers just gone. So that, and he's got a cooldown now. He's waiting. He's going to do it again in about 20 seconds. So that is basically stay out of here. Stay out of here, stay out of here. It also works well against Dragoons. Dragoons harassment could be difficult for Terrans, especially if it's got some upgrades and it's faster or range or whatever. And Dragoon here is just chilling, and then all of a sudden they're like, kill it. So it does a lot of damage to a Dragoon. Two of them will instant shot a Dragoon. So the grenade turret, although it is expensive, it is really good at keeping an area defended from certain kinds of units. Unless you get a really good shot against zealots, Dragoon's just, that thing just wants to kill it. Stop. I made my point already. Poor Dragoon, kill it. Alright, so that's the grenade turret. It's basically representing a modern day mortar system. It's a heavier form of defense. If you look at the price here to upgrade an auto turret, which is already 50 mineral, it is an extra 100 mineral and 50 gas. So total it's 150 mineral and 50 gas. So it definitely has its use for sure, but it's also not cheap. You're kind of investing, and it's very easy to kill. Again, 20 hit points, two armor. I mean, you could just, if you had got an air unit strafing over this area, it could just like see how I've got these three in a line. If I had a scout, I would just come straight down this line right here, and just take out that whole line just like that, and nothing would stop it. You'd lose all this defense in this nice little line right here. So that is that. Let's go to the other defensive units, the other anti-air units. We're going to do the Flak Turret first. I did already talk a little bit about this when I was talking about Reapers, but I'm going to go into a little more detail here. The Flak Turret, let's get some targets, ideal targets that it deals with. The Flak Turret has a range of 25. It's also good at keeping pest units out of an area in general, like Mutalisks. Mutalisks or Reapers are just known for their raiding, their general harassment, their punking. A Flak Turret in the area puts an end to it. So the cost, see right here, the Mutalisk right here, if you can see, is a cost 100 mineral, 25 gas. and a flak turret is 100 mineral, 25 gas. So for the same cost, this thing will one-shot a Mutalisk, and it does do area of effect damage. The Mutalisks, with enough of them, they can rush flak turrets if they're by themselves and there's no auto turrets around. So I'm not saying that the flak turret is like a hard counter to a Mutalisk, but it is definitely a big deterrent. When you mix a flak turret with a bunker with a gunner or an auto turret or something near it, it discourages the Mutalisks from trying to rush the flak turret. It usually just discourages the Mutalisks altogether. Like, I don't even want to fool with that. I take too much damage when I go into that area. It creates some kind of a psychological damage effect to your opponent to not want to even go into that area, because the moment you step into that area, they have already lost one Mutalisk right off the bat. And its rate of fire right here, 0.8. So less than a second. Every less than a second, you lose another Mutalisk, and it also is doing splash damage to all the other Mutalisks too. It's just, this is a very ugly weapon towards light units like Mutalisks or Reapers. Even units, like if I take a gunship here, let me get a Banshee going. I got this Banshee here. It's not considered a light unit, but it does have 40 hit points, and if you look at the damage for the flak turret, it's 10 damage just right off the bat, or 20 versus light. And that's of course not including the splash damage. So if I do this, and I attack him, boom, 3 hits. That's it. 3 hits, a Banshee's dead. Now, the Banshee does have rockets that outrange the flak turret, so that would be a counter right there. As you can see, the rockets on a Banshee are 30, and the flak turret range is 25. So if the Banshee is stupid, it will lose to the flak turret. But if it's smart, it will park out here and look at that. 1 rocket, and that thing is done. So that is one counter for Terrans against flak turrets. You could use a Banshee Reaper combo, for example. You use the Banshee to take out the auto turret and the flak turret. Now, if you still got bunkers and gunners, you're still going to lose all your Reapers. But what I'm getting at here is, if you saw a situation where there were no bunkers, but all he made was auto turrets and flak turrets, or you're thinking, okay, I definitely can't send Reapers in there. He's expecting Reapers, that to be a Reaper-free zone, but if you make one Banshee, that changes the whole thing now. You can take out the flak turret, the auto turret, and now he's got nothing that's anti-Reaper, and you're just Reaper. So that's another great combination right there, based on the situation on what they made. So that's the flak turret. It is, like I said, 25 range. You figure it out. I'm almost getting tired talking about these defensive units. They're kind of no-brainers, you know. They're good at light air units in a decent area. More shorter range though. Obviously, the Guardians, like, okay, if you're Zerg, Guardians obviously wreck them because they outrange them by 10 and they just melt them. You can rush them with Mutalisks if they don't have any other stuff around them. Otherwise, another option you can do is a Cauldron, which is a mutation of the Roach. Okay, so the Roach is an assault unit, and oh, dang it, it's got Ravager. Hold on, let me see if this is going to even work. Okay, so even though it says Ravager, it's a Cauldron, and what the Cauldron does, let me see if I get it on the screen at the same time, is it shoots this little acid up, and it comes flying out, boop. Oh shoot, but because it's my unit, it doesn't do the melt damage. Well, if that were an enemy flak turret, it would be melting right now. So it already brings it down to half health, and it starts to melt. This is a 100 range siege unit right here. It's called a Cauldron, and it's a mutation of the Roach. And it shoots this one little annoying acid drop straight down on a single target. So that is another option there. The Cauldron projectile can be shot down by an auto turret, so there is that. Again, if they've got auto turrets, it might make it more difficult. As for dealing with a flak turret, though, I mean, you could just do a suicide run with Zerglings. I mean, for heaven's sake, the thing is worth 100 mineral, 25 gas. You could literally just send 100 Zerglings to their doom, and you gain 25 gas on that trade. He loses 25 gas for a 100 mineral trade. So even just spamming Zerglings is good against Flak Turrets. It all depends on how he's got it set up. He could have it on cliff, behind walls, who knows what. But a Cauldron is a good bet if his auto turrets aren't there or aren't set up right. Let me look at what else we got here with Zerg. You got a Putrefier also. If he has no grenade turret, kind of keeping watch for Putrefiers, you can just lob an acid bomb, range 35, and melt and blow up the Flak Turret. So that's another option as Zerg. You got a lot of options as Zerg. A Tempest can usually get in and bomb the Flak Turret before the Flak Turret can do anything, if it's by itself. Again, a Flak Turret is not very strong by itself. I think that's the one lesson maybe that could be driven home right here. Everything I've said is, this only works if the Flak Turret is by itself. Now, if it's not by itself and it's covered by other kinds of defense, it's more complicated. You can't just make usually one unit to get rid of the Flak Turret. And assuming that's your priority, it's usually the Flak Turret is keeping out raiders. Normally, your priority is try to keep assault dead, to keep force from taking your city dead. Usually keeping raiders out is not as high of a priority. A lot of things can do that fairly well. Almost anything that you have there will usually do well against raiders. Raiders are just there trying to pick off things that have like empty bases, no defenses, that kind of thing. They're looking for easy pickings, raiders. So the Flak Turret is kind of an odd objective. Like if you're usually trying to kill a building, you're usually trying to kill the auto turret, or you're trying to kill the grenade turret, or the detection, or something. The Flak Turret is not normally the building of target or of choice, so there is that. But it is the Flak Turret is a good anti-air unit. It keeps a lot of light annoying units out of the area. It discourages them, and it's pretty reasonably cost. The next one is the Missile Turret. Now this is very different from the Flak Turret. It's almost night and day. Let me build one here. Let me talk about it. It takes a lot longer to make, 90 seconds. A Missile Turret is a serious thing though for certain kinds of air units. I'm going to keep him on hold fire. He has 100 range. It does 70 damage, which is basically 35 per missile. Fires 2 at a time. But it does half of that to a biological target. What a Missile Turret is it keeps out all kinds of units like Banshees, and it's got 100 range. So it's not that it just keeps out; it keeps like a quarter of the map. If you put one in the middle of the map, man, that's just a pain in the butt for enemy air units, because the middle of the map, you're basically keeping most of the map protected, because an air unit is gonna probably cross over that somewhere, unless they go along the edge of the map or something. They're gonna probably be flying around somewhere near one of the, lower top or upper middle or lower upper bottom, and the Missile Turret's going to see it and take a shot at it. It will one shot a scout. It will wait, let me double check this to be sure, just to be sure. I know it one shots a Falcon. Yeah, 30, okay, 70, no armor. So yeah, it will one shot a scout without any upgrades. Now if a scout has one shield upgrade or one armor upgrade, it will take 2 Missile Turret shots to kill a scout. So without any upgrades, it one-shots a scout, it one-shots a Banshee, it one-shots a Wraith, it one-shots a Falcon. But it costs 20 gas, and like I say, it can miss. It can miss. Fire, and it missed. And every time it fires, it's 16 gas or 20 gas or something like that. So you're not going to want to, and it has a minimum range too, so it can't shoot at air units within 20, I believe. It doesn't show the minimum range here on the screen, but the minimum range is about 20. So this is another unit that Mutalisks could very just easily bum rush. Mutalisks are very good against Missile Turrets because the Missile Turret wastes resources per Mutalisk. The missiles are more expensive than each Mutalisk, and the Mutalisk can bum rush it. It's got no armor. The Mutalisk literally could just bum rush, kill the thing, get out. The Missile Turret is meant to, it can definitely hurt Guardians, since Guardians only have 35 range, and the Missile Turret does more damage to them. Let's see.
Evolution complete.
35 range right here for the Guardian. So the missile turrets can collectively just pummel Guardians that are spotted, but it sucks against Mutalisks, it sucks against Reapers. So it's an anti-large, long-range unit, and it has to hit the unit, that's the other thing too, and the missile can be shot down. So there's a number of things. You'd think just by talking about 100 range, every time you say 100 range, new players are like, all they want to do is make just that unit. And a missile turret is kind of a unit that you don't want to make a lot of. You only want one in an area. And the reason is because you use so much gas per attack. And you wouldn't want one right next to the other. And the reason I say that is because if the angle that, say, this one that I have selected fires, if that angle is a miss, let's say the Guardian is moving like this or something, okay? And why would you want a missile turret right next to it? Because if this one is going to miss, then that one's going to miss too. However, if you were to make a missile turret, say, up over here, it's 100 range. I mean, you've got a lot of room, a lot of slack, you know. But now you've got two different angles. So now, let's get that on hold fire. So now, with the same scenario that I showed you, if I've got this Guardian going like from here to here, this missile turret will probably miss because it's going perpendicular. But this missile turret's like, oh, that's nice. It's that back right angle. It's going to go right up that Guardian's tailpipe. Fill that hot love right up your tailpipe, as that Terran said, because you've spread the angle out. And that's why I say it's really bad. Really bad. Blizzard has just beat up these players so bad. They do so many dumb things that don't even make sense. Like they'll build 5 or 6 missile turrets right next to each other in one cluster, and then they wonder where their gas goes. This game sucks. There's no gas. And I say, why are you got all your missile turrets not on hold fire? Cost gas per attack. Oh, that sucks. Why do missiles cost gas? That's gay. I hear it all. These people are stupid. And that is really the bottom line. They are stupid. They do not know how to play this game. That's one of the reasons actually why I'm putting this tutorial together, so they can see the thoughtfulness. So I spread the missile turrets out so they're now multiple angles. So one of those angles may not have got that air unit, but the other one probably will. You don't want to cluster your missile turrets up. Another thing I need to mention is the missile turret is not a detector. Detection in this game is not spammable. Not on the scale like in StarCraft 1 or vanilla StarCraft 2. The reason now is cloaked units can live. They have a chance to play a game now. In old StarCraft 1 days, you could just make a million photon cannons, and if you've got detection everywhere, I mean, why even make a cloaked unit? Just make a cannon. Just some cheap generic defense unit that you can spam, and it all has detection. It takes away from the ability to strike a detection unit as a cause and effect to then launch or to then send your covert guys in. Well, he's going to be flying in that circle for a while. He's going to bounce off the bottom of the bink. Almost. Okay. So he's going to go in pattern. There we go. He's keeping us safe. He's protecting us from, I don't know, but he's definitely protecting us. He's doing a very good job of it too. Missile turrets, you keep them on hold fire until you see a target you want to shoot with them. And if you're going to make more than one, I would spread them out. Like I said, for angle reasons and also for coverage. You only really need one missile turret per 1/4 of the map. If you look at their cost, 125 mineral, 50 gas. That is, think about that. Now, granted, okay, let's compare that to a photon cannon so you can see my point. A photon cannon is 25 range, but it does air and ground. But its rate of fire does 50 damage at 1 1/4 per shot. So a missile turret obviously has much lower damage per second. 15-second delay, 70 damage. Costs 25 gas. A photon cannon only costs 5 energy per shot, 5 mineral. So there, obviously it's like comparing apples to oranges, but what I'm getting at is the scale of a missile turret is much larger, lower damage per second, meant to be targeting units specifically, not wasted on Mutalisks, not wasted on Reapers. It's meant to look for things like Guardians, science vessels that got too close, this sort of thing. It is not meant to, or like Scouts or Banshees for sure. it is a really good defense against Banshees. Banshees just, yeah, it's a good unit against Banshees. Now, I mean, obviously, if a Banshee knows where it is, that Banshee what it can do is it can micro and it can dodge that first missile and then rush in on the missile turret and rocket it. So that I'm not saying that a Banshee is helpless against it, but normally a missile turret will catch a Banshee off guard. They won't know that the missile turret was built, and all it takes is just one attack to succeed, and that Banshee's gone. So a missile turret is a really efficient way of keeping certain kinds of air units out. It also is a deterrent for drops, since it does 70 damage per attack. And let me get a dropship out here so you can see it for yourself. Here's a dropship at 120 hit points. So 2 missile attacks will kill the dropship. Over 100 radius area. So if you had 2 missile turrets in area, it creates almost like you can't just stop and drop fast. You have to do what I showed in the past recording. Or no, maybe it was this recording. Yeah, it was. You drop units while moving. You have to drop them while moving. You can't just stop and drop. You have to drop while moving. So it forces the player to have to do that. And if they're lazy or stupid, then they're not going to do that. The missile turrets will catch them. It will blow the dropship up before they finish dropping their units. And the newbies will cry. They'll cry so bad about how this game is ridiculous, ranges are ridiculous, because they stupidly sent a dropship into an area with missile turrets. And they didn't even drop the units while moving. They just thought, I'm going to take this big fat target and stop it right here in the air, surrounded by missile turrets, which are known to take down aircraft with a single missile. And this is a realism mod where a missile does blow up an aircraft. Oh look, it's raining again. It's always raining. I'm sorry, I'm just ranting about some of the really dumb complaints I've heard about people who are really bad at playing this mod because they don't know how to play it. Okay, again, that's why I'm making these tutorials to help people play better, and also to kind of just educate anybody as to how this game was designed and why all of these things were intentional. I mean, it's very rare that I would do something that was not intentional and just turned out to be a really cool feature. It does happen, but most of this was intentional, you know. So that's a missile turret. It is a special use kind of unit. Keep them on hold fire until you want to use them. I usually have them in a control group. 5 is usually one of the most common numbers I have them in. 5 seems to be my anti-air control group. I don't know why. 1 is infantry, 2 is support of some kind, 4 is artillery, 5 is anti-air, 8 is usually my transports, my dropships, and 0 is usually like my comm scan, or 9 is usually my observer or science vessel. As I've played over the years, I just have the same numbers for the same purpose. It just makes it easier for me, but yeah, I control group missile turrets and I keep them on hold fire, and the moment I see dropships come into the area, I just hit the number and hit the target and they're done, and that's it. So I think is usually the best way to use them. So that's a missile turret. We've got done with all these smaller units, and then there's one more unit in the advanced menu here. It's called actually, you know what, let's talk about the radar. This is very important, actually. I can't believe I didn't even mention this once yet. So radar for Terrans is very important, okay? Radar is your air detector. It has a air detection radius of 36. 36, okay? Here's this grenade turret, which has a radius of, a range of 35, so it's right kind of near. So you get an idea about how much area this radar detects. So wraiths, any other cloaked air unit, observers, the number one reason really for building a radar is to keep observers out. So there's no vision for Protoss to do mean things to you. Radar is not cheap though. You see the price here, it's 250 gas, 100 minerals, so I mean it is a bit of an investment in that 250 gas, but you're keeping cloaked air units out of a 36 radius area. It also has radar for 100 radius, so you at least know you can see all the units that are about 100 radius out. It's really good. It's a very good defense unit or support of defense. It also does something else not a lot of people know about, but has been tied into. So this TAC missile silo is also an anti-nuke silo. So when somebody launches a big nuke, we call them big nukes. They're called strategic nukes. That's the proper name, but we call them big nukes because it's easier that way. When someone launches a big nuke out of a silo, in fact, let me blow something up with the. Why is that infested? What the heck are they doing? I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know what's going on over here in AI Town. All I know is there's an infested turret right there, and that doesn't make any sense. So if they launch a big nuke, every race has an anti-nuke unit. Okay, I'll get into them more later, but an anti-nuke unit is a nuke that shoots down, intercepts, or just blocks a big nuke attack. For the Terrans, the TAC missile silo does that. So if a opponent were to launch a big nuke where this SCV is right here, okay, and it's within this radius. See this radius now that I have the TAC nuke silo selected? If the opponent launches a big nuke at any point within this circle, an anti-nuke silo has a 50% chance of shooting it down. So if you have two anti-nuke silos in the area, where is my second one? I'm pretty sure I'm in a second one. Okay, well that's just sad. Well, if you had two, pretend I have two. I know I could. Here, I'm gonna make a second one, just so I can say I had two. It's still gonna take a long time even if it's coding. So here are the two circles now. Got them both selected. Okay. So in that outer radius, there's a 50% chance because only one of them is. But in this, where both of the circles overlap, there's a 100% chance no big nukes will get through. These things will keep your city safe from big nukes from very mean Terrans. Okay, so this is the Terran Anti-Nuke. For the Zerg, it's a seeker nest, and for the Protoss, it's a shield battery. And you have to have the level 1 shields to use the. Let me upgrade it so you can see it. Get your upgrade going. You have to have level 1 shields. It's set out so that each race has to invest the same number of resources and time to be able to block a big nuke, so that really no one race has an advantage over the other in terms of being able to stop a big nuke. A shield battery is very cheap. A TAC silo here, if you look at the cost, is 500 mineral, 100 gas, as opposed to a shield battery, which is only 150 mineral and 125 gas. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's wrong. No. It's because on this test map, values are sometimes wrong, and they're double. It's actually 75 mineral. It's half that. Trust me. Anyway, so this thing right here, the shield battery, when I do this, boom, that blocks a big nuke. So anything under this area does not take any damage from a big nuke, and it also doesn't catch the radiation either. So that's how Protoss block nukes. Terrans block them with this TAC silo missile right here. TAC missile silo, 50% chance each, and then a seeker nest. Let's get a drone going here. A seeker nest has a 33% chance of blocking a nuke in its area, in this circle right here. A 33% chance. So if you have 3 of these around your hive, it is nuclear proof. If you have 2, it's 66%. If you have 1, it's 33%. So that's how each race blocks big nukes. So the TAC silo, a lot of these buildings have a lot more use than you might realize, and so that's why I'm making this tutorial, so you know. So the radar, so here's how the radar works. Now I know this isn't in a button anywhere, and I really need to add this. Maybe it is. Let me look at the button for, there it is. Okay, I need to add this for the missile silo. It says it has a 50% chance of intercepting incoming strategic nuclear missiles that are targeting a point within. I need to update that value. It's more than that now, I believe. Yeah, so I need to make a note of that. Update. What? TAC silo. What the radar does is it adds 25% effectiveness to every anti-nuke on the map of yours. And I believe also your allies too. It's been a long time. It's been more than a year since I did the whole nuke, anti-nuke dynamic to this mod. The radar basically makes all of your anti-nuke silos more effective. So now you don't have to make 2 anti-nukes to try to get that 100%. If you're hurting for money, you only got to make 1, and you can make 1 here. You can make 1 on the other side of the map. So now it just makes your anti-nukes more efficient. Now, some people say, yeah, I still don't feel comfortable at 75%. I would. I'm sorry, but it's costing him 1,000 gas per big nuke, and you are 75% likely to block it. I'm sorry, that's pretty good, especially for a unit that only costs 500 mineral, 100 gas, and his big nuke right here costs 1,000 gas, 250 mineral. And now with a radar anywhere on the map, it makes all of your silos 25% more effective. You're getting free value out of that. So that's an added bonus about the radar. If you didn't need a reason to make a radar, that's another extra one. If you were engaged in some kind of a nuclear war, your radar makes your anti-nukes more effective. So there is that. Radar is it's an important thing. It really is. Depending on the situation, you may not need it. Also, I should mention though, the Zerg, they have radar from their Spire. If you build a Spire, the Spire does the same thing as a radar, and it costs, there we go, or no, it's a Greater Spire, is what I believe it is. It's been a while. The Greater Spire has the same radar effect as a radar tower. Is in terms of detecting air units. It does not have the radar effect on the mini-map, but in terms of detecting air units, it does. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I need to stick with Terran stuff here. I'll get to the Zerg stuff later. So, that was the radar. Now, okay, this disruption tower is not finished. I am kind of sad that I still have it here, but it's still here. The disruption tower does do some things right now. I'll get into that. It can hack robots and machines when you're fighting against the mechanoid, the robotic Zerg, so there is that. Or if you're fighting against the purifiers, which are the robotic Protoss. So hack allows you to take control of robots, okay? Mind control allows you to take control of Zerg units like Ultralisks, which is usually the main reason you make one of these disruption towers. You research it at the science facility. Where is my science facility? There it is. You research, you can either get have mind control right there, and then that will allow you to take control of an Ultralisk. One of the things it's going to do later, I haven't got around to doing this yet, is it's going to hide the radar signature of units around it. And it's also going to cause enemy missiles that come into the area to scramble. So it'll be kind of it'll help at missile defense. So the disruption tower isn't finished, but it already does do a couple things. Just feel like mentioning it. And then now, you know what? I did already really go into the TAC missile silo. I really don't even think I need to go into that now. And it does build tactical nukes for your ghosts out in the field to launch. When you have a tactical nuke, you can detonate the silo. So that's kind of a last-ditch effort when you know you're going to lose the silo and you're surrounded and you're like, screw it, you can at least blow the thing up in place. You do have that option right here. If you have a nuke, you can do it, I believe. I don't think you can do it if you can't. In fact, let me try that. I'm doing a tutorial here and I'm sitting here, I'm like, is that how it works still? You got to understand, there's so many changes that go on. There's so many changes that go on. I cannot remember anymore what certain values are. Well, some units I always remember because I'll remember exactly why they were given that value. Oh, it looks like you can. Wow, that's kind of sad. Boom. So yeah, you can. Okay, even if you don't have a nuke, you can detonate it now. I need to fix that. It's just kind of a last ditch, kind of a cool little last ditch effort. I mean, you got this perfectly good TAC nuke in there, right? So like, why not use it, right? Why not? You know, was that Ghost say? Were holes? Was it Dale or were holes on the science? You know what I'm talking about? Starcraft 1 video, the station. Yeah, you can just blow the nuke if you want. So anyway, there's that. The TAC nuke silo, it shoots down big nukes, and it allows you to launch attack nukes. At a later date, it's also going to be able to launch poison gas missiles, EMP missiles, and some other good stuff like that. I can't even remember. So your Ghost will not be limited to just attack nuke. It can launch different kinds of nukes at a later date. That is on the to-do list. I don't know when I'm ever going to get to that, but eventually. So that is the attack silo. I consider that kind of an attack structure, defense structure of a kind, so that's why I mentioned it. And then the last one for defensive structures and all that is the Cannon Tower. And let's get this thing going here. It takes a while to build and get ready. And when it's done, I will explain what it is. So the Cannon Tower is like an emplaced, well, it's an emplaced cannon. It has 100 range. Okay, so the same range as a siege tank, the same damage as a siege tank, but it can also attack armored units, and it fires 4 at a time. That's what it doesn't. Okay, yeah, attacks 4. So it's 100 per attack, but it's 4 attacks. It's like a shotgun cannon. And let me get some units out here. You need to die. You're going to kill Marines. Then I'm going to spawn out here. So we've got Marines. Nobody kill them. Nobody. Dang it, Scout. Okay, Scout. I see how you are. Let me see if I can't get this first. Okay, so the Cannon Tower is already moving. It rotates very slowly, and
Your
that is
forces
intentional.
Are under attack.
And the reason is because, let me just get so you can see the impact. It's more important than it's shooting. Scout, just messing with me. The reason why it rotates so slowly, it's like, bam, it just 4 shots, 4 siege tank shots instantly. It costs, I believe, 75 mineral per shot. But it does the equivalent of basically 4 siege tanks, and it can shoot at air units. That's why it rotates so slow, so it's not practical against like Scouts or Phoenix, but it can shoot at capital ships. And like I said, it'll do 400 damage per attack.
Your forces
at 100
are under
range.
attack.
So it is something to think about. It is, and it's not cheap. I mean, with quality comes price. So there it is, 1750 mineral, 500 gas. But this thing right here, this will keep Ultralisks out of the area. It'll keep Thors out of the area. It'll keep large units cause you problems out of the area because it does so much damage before they're even able to get a chance to fight back. Cannon Tower is a pretty big deal. It's also Nidus worm food. It's also, I mean, it's a very big priority target. It's like a Protoss monolith.
Your forces are under attack.
You have to kill it before you plan on getting a group of people near it. It's also like a spore cannon too. So there is that. That's the defensive structures. Let me let me get to the vehicles now. I don't need you, radar. Missile turret. Don't need you. You're gonna mess it up. I just know you will. We'll make some Marines out there and then we'll attack them. So we did the Vulture. Dang it, we only got through the Vulture yet? Okay, I need to really kick this into higher gear. So the buggy. A buggy is an early game kind of skirmish, kind of raid. This is a unit that's a mixture of both a skirmisher and a raider. Its range is 8, so it can skirmish Marines. It skirmishes Zealots. Anything beyond 8, it doesn't skirmish, but it does do good at raiding too. Like, you know, worker lines, that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's got 5.5 speed, so it does well. It does well against a lot of early game units. I used a buggy versus Protoss, and I use an APC versus Zerg for like usually my first vehicle that I make. The reason is because the APC, even though it can run over units, let me get one out here because it'll be coming up next. Even though the APC can run over and smash units like Zergling,
your forces are under attack.
Well, I'll do that when I get to the APC. It does not do well against Zealots because Zealot side blades just do too much damage to an APC to make it worthwhile. I usually do not make APCs against Protoss. I just don't. It's just not worth it. The buggy, on the other hand, in my opinion, is better versus Protoss because it's faster than the APC. It's better at skirmishing Zealots. And I mean, you could. Let me pick on some poor souls here. We're going to get rid of these Marines. Now I realize I should have kept my cannon. See, flawless, even against Marines. Of course, it's nighttime. I'm gonna make. I believe he's got enough ammo for like 18. We'll do 24 zealots. I'm gonna make 24 zealots, and I should have enough to kill 18 of them. And I'm gonna get this mineral while I'm picking on them. And I'm gonna let them see me so they can all run after me. It's hopeless. They are so screwed. Look at this. There's nothing. The only thing that defends against this early on. Well, okay, basically, every race seems to have its period. Okay, he's out of ammo, so he killed. Okay, leave him alone, guys. Go back, go back. You don't have a chance. Go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me count this one through still. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so yeah, you can kill 12 zealots. He's got enough ammo to kill 12 zealots per run. So a whole batch of zealots, basically. And he can go, and for half the price, for 50 mineral. So, right there, the buggy does well at skirmishing early units, beating up early expanders, fast expanders, and this is with one. You can make groups of them, like 3 or 4. Another cool thing about them when dealing with Protoss is, let me get a reread here. Actually, this is not going to work the way I want it to. I should not have done this. Because he's not going to want to attack the Scarab. Nope, don't want to do that. Okay, so you can attack the Scarab, and even one buggy by himself, because his damage is 5, and the Reaver armor is 2, or the Scarab armor is 2. Even one buggy by himself, while he's running away from the Scarab, can kill the Scarab. So when you've got a group of 2 or 3, as long as they're not too busy with something else they're shooting, they can generally just keep Scarabs dead too while they're raiding. So a Reaver can try to kill them, but usually wastes a lot of Scarabs. So the Dragoon is the solution for the buggy. The Dragoon, his damage right here is 50. The buggy's health is 30. He will one-shot the buggy, and he has more range than the buggy, 15 by default. And he can just get one shot off every 1.5 seconds. While the buggy, I mean, even if they went head to head, the Dragoon will still beat the buggy. Now he should. The buggy costs a lot less. The Dragoon definitely, once you get a Dragoon, it puts an end to buggy harassment. Here's the thing: the buggy is right at the early game when all people have is zealots and ADCs and buggies and that kind of stuff. And they don't they don't have a Dragoon yet. They should be able to, though. That's the thing. Cybernetics, core, robotics, barracks, factory. So it costs the same amount of time to make a Dragoon as it did to make a buggy. So if the Protoss player does not have a Dragoon, it's kind of their fault that they don't get a Dragoon very quickly, because it's in the same scale. It arrives at the same time the buggy does, is what I'm trying to say. So the Dragoon definitely keeps buggies out. You don't want to go anywhere near a Dragoon, because that one random photon and it's dead. So there is that. Dragoons keep zealots safe from buggies. Buggies also do well against pretty much every other kind of infantry unit for skirmishing. They outrange Vindicators. The archers outrange them, but the archers can't hit moving targets like a buggy. The Hunter is the only one that's like a break-even. In fact, the Hunter and the buggy are almost about the same. The Hunter has, look at the weapon stats here. Range 9, damage 10 fast. So, and the buggy has range 8, 5. So these are very similar units right here. The speed of the Hunter is 7. The buggy is 5.5. So these are very similar in role and purpose, and these would break even. And I would bet the Hunter will kill the buggy on approach more times than the other way around. The Hunter does have to turn to face his target, but the buggy has a turret, so it can shoot while it's moving and while it's moving away from the target. The Hunter cannot. So there are trade-offs between these two, but if I were going to guess, time after time after time, if buggy met against Hunter, the Hunter would win. So the Protoss does have some kind of salvation early on against the buggy, and that is the Hunter, and it's, like I said, a very similar class and unit. The Dragoon, though, is really, if you keep your Dragoon near your Zealots, you're going to be keeping them safe from harassment from a buggy. But I definitely use buggies a lot against Protoss early on. It's just they do so well. It keeps the zealots from attacking. It keeps them from having zealots out in the open. Without a buggy, the Protoss is basically at liberty to just kind of go wherever they want because they're faster than Marines and they've got more power than Marines, you know, without any upgrades. So the Hunter or a Dragoon is kind of what you need to go if your opponent is going to go lots of buggies early on to keep them from bugging you. As for Zerg, buggies do outspeed the initial Zergling. In fact, let me get a Zergling here with a speed upgrade so you can see how much it is. The Zergling here, and let's not count the creep bonus here. So 3.5 is the normal Zergling speed, and then this one right here says it's gonna make. Let's get the upgrade so you can see the speed of a Zergling. Get it done right here.
Research complete.
So now the speed is 4.75 for a Zergling. That is fast for a little light unit. He is just, I want you to hear, Zergling, I want you to follow this guy so you can get an idea. Now he's still going to be faster, but I want to see just how he's not a whole lot faster. Let's see. So a speeded Zergling keeps pressure on him, and the thing is the ammo cost for the buggy is actually going to be wasted on Zerglings. So you can see here now that the Zergling, once he has the speed for sure, he's not really too afraid of the buggy. The APC though is different. The Zergling is afraid of the APC early on. I guess I will cover that once I start talking about the APC. But let's stick with the buggy. Hydralisks generally, if I remember right, it's kind of a break-even thing. The buggy doesn't really want to go too close to Hydralisks because Hydralisks, although they have the same range as a Marine, they're faster than a Marine. And generally it doesn't go well for the buggy that gets too close to Hydralisk groups. Same goes for like with a Hunter. The Roach, it's an interesting relationship between the Roach and the buggy. The buggy does get through the Roach armor, but he usually can only kill like maybe 3 or 4. I can't remember how many. He can't kill that many Roach before he's got to go get more ammo. Let me put it that way. He's got 50. What? No, it's more than 50 attacks. He's got 100 attacks because it's 0.5 energy per attack. 100 attacks, doing how much damage to Roach? 3. So he's doing 3. 10. He could kill. Okay, yeah, he can kill 10 Roaches. It takes a while. I guess that's why it feels like you can't kill him. It takes a while. He can kill 10 Roaches before he's got to reload, I believe is the math. But it takes a while. So the Roach is kind of in trouble from the buggy, but not like, not as much as a Zealot is actually. A Zealot seems to just, they die faster because of their lack of armor compared to the Roach, and so on. Also, the Zealot can at least try to chase the buggy. The Roach has no chance. So buggies are not great versus Roach, but they can still do something versus Roach. They're better than nothing. Mutalisks definitely will take the buggy down. Mutalisks are a hard counter to the buggy in every way because the buggy's gun is ground only. It's pointed to ground targets. It's not meant to hit up in the air moving targets. It's just shooting at ground targets. It's slower than the Mutalisk, okay? And it cannot attack the Mutalisk. And it has no armor. And the Mutalisk is just going to do 4 damage. Each of these guys, you're going to one-shot each buggy. You're going to outrun them, you're going to catch them. So a Mutalisk is a hard counter against the buggy, without any doubt in my mind. So if you can make it to Spire, like I said, the buggy's not the greatest unit versus Zerg early on. APC really is better. So there's that. There's, I don't think, really any other need to talk about any of the other Zerg units. Mutalisk is your best bet. Zerglings can keep them constant pressure on them, and it's a waste of their ammo. So there is that. The APC, what am I going to talk about next? The Hog is new. there's not much to mention about the Hog. The Hog is basically a buggy with 10 more hit points and a Stinger missile. And it costs more than twice. A buggy is 50 mineral, 20 gas, and a Hog is 100 mineral, 50 gas. So it's more than twice the cost of just a buggy. And what do you get with it? Who is that? Is that a civilian? Yep, civilian. Yep, it's from one of those buildings that blew up, is what it is. I bet you I'll run them over with a tank. Let me get an APC out here to run them over. So you can see this. And they're dead. War crimes. Okay. You do have... Oh, I gotta fix this. Yep, hard and simple. Like I said, the Hog is a new unit. I have not had a lot of time to get to it, and usually when I put a new unit in, I give it stats that are not that great, or that if I'm going to put a new unit in, I'd rather it be a unit that doesn't affect anything because nobody wants to make it because it's not that great, rather than put a new unit in that's amazingly great and does everything too well and has no weakness. I just think that makes sense. So if it's a new unit, it usually doesn't do very well. The Hog is okay. I think it's actually okay. It's basically just a buggy with a rocket launcher and a little bit more oomph. That's about it. There's really not much to say about it. The fact that it has a Stinger missile, though, I need to say is... let me look at the stat difference between the Hog here and a Dragoon. Let's get them up by the Dragoon so it's easier to click back and forth. So you can see why I actually think right now the Hog's current price is actually underpriced. So a Dragoon is 200 mineral, 200 mineral and 50 gas. Okay. And then a Hog's is 100 mineral. Here it is, 100 mineral and 50 gas. Same amount of gas as a Dragoon. Twice as much, Dragoon is twice as much mineral, but I want to look at the difference here. So, almost the same, kind of about the same amount of hit points, but about 3 times as much hit-taking power the Dragoon has. But here's the thing, its weapon is 50 damage, 1.5 seconds, 15 range. His weapon, his Stinger, is 60 damage, 20 range. So he's got more range on the Dragoon, and he's got more speed, 4.75, while the Dragoon is 2. What did I say? If a unit has more speed and more range, it counters it, period. It can attack while the other one can't even shoot back. So right off the bat, the Hog is definitely superior to the Dragoon in a one-on-one cost for cost. The thing is, the Hog only attacks air with its Stinger missile, which is wasted on things like Mutalisks and stuff. So Mutalisks will really shred a Hog. I mean, if they shred a buggy, they'll definitely shred a Hog for cost. He's getting more per kill. But compared to a Dragoon right now, the Hog is just better. Period. Just in a 1 versus 1 versus Dragoon versus a Hog. Even though the Dragoon can shoot air units and does recharge its own ammo, so those are noteworthy. The Hog does not recharge its own ammo. It does have to keep going back to get supplies. So there are some ups and downs. It has more speed, but it's having to use it to go back and forth more. And the Dragoon can one-shot the Hog if the Hog is stupid enough to get in within range. So, and that happens, especially at nighttime when people just run into each other in the middle of the night. That does happen. So it's the Hog's superior range isn't always automatic. It's better than the Dragoon. A lot of things can make that different. But this is the Hog. It's new. I have not really got around to being able to refine the stats so that it fits just right. It's at a point where it's okay, and I don't think it really upsets too much in terms of balance. It's usually better to make buggies for raiding anyway than a Hog. A Hog is kind of... I could see how you would want to make a Hog with a group of buggies to take out an auto turret and then do raiding. Like, I could get that, because you don't get the time to wait for a Stinger, a little infantry guy, to get all the way over there, shoot his rocket, and probably die. You know, he'll probably die on the way there, too. That's the other thing. Infantry always die. When you send them somewhere far away on the map, they never make it. They never make it. They always die. it's just, and if you look away, they're guaranteed to die. It's just like the rule of the game. If you look away, they're gonna die. If you send them across the map, they're gonna die. I mean, they're just gonna die. And anyway, so yeah, the buggy, the hog. The buggy is faster than the hog, and he's half the price of a hog. So that is something worth noting. I'm gonna not really talk much about the hog anymore because it's still new and I haven't really worked on it yet. The APC has kind of been around for quite a while, and it is a very important early game unit, and let me demonstrate why. Actually, you know what, let me go up against some zealots so you can see why I don't recommend using the APC against zealots. So that's just a dozen zealots right there. Just a dozen, but usually they'll see them in 24 or 36, so I'm going to run these guys over. Look at the damage I just took, just to run these guys over. I'm at half health. Half health, okay, and the price of an APC was 150 mineral and 50 gas. So that's about 300 mineral worth of resources right there. As opposed to that 100 mineral of zealots that I just attacked. So for a third of the value, they took him down to half. So zealots do well at telling APCs to just stay out, stay away. That is why I don't use APCs against Protoss. Now, against Zerg, let me show you why. Early game, it's just agony for a Zerg player. See, here's the thing. Zerg units are the fastest. They have the fastest land units early on, which allows them to have more confidence to expand early faster. They can't. They have their defenses are not as solid as a Terran, but they can expand faster, and so their way of play is different. They usually just expand quickly. Oops, wrong type of unit. Where's my Canon Tower? I know what I can do to get rid of these guys quickly. The best unit in the game for killing Zerglings or Zealots is the Flame Tank. Let me show you why. If you can imagine, I think you already know why. And I'm gonna send these guys to the left too for alive. Actually, you guys get that. Well, I guess you can help. Flame Tank to the rescue. There we go. Just put all these suckers. More of them in the flame. More of them in the flame. Okay. Alright. Sorry, I made the wrong kind of unit. Let's get the right kind in there now. 50s, 11. Okay. And these, unfortunately, the AI is already upgraded to winglings. The AI is still allowed to do. It won't mess anything up. So this is why the armored personnel carrier is just, you know what? Screw it. I'm at 50. Let's give him another 200 Zerglings. I gotta stop that scout. Scout, you're messing it up, dude. Die. My dog is sitting there thinking he's in trouble when I've got this tone when I'm here messing it up. Die. My dog's like, am I in trouble? No, it's the scout. Okay, so I'm gonna add 250 Zerglings, and we're gonna say 50 Hydras. Now you're about to say that. Oh well, that's not. They need to be in the other way around. That is not ideal. Well, okay. It doesn't matter. They're all going to die anyway. You say, what? You say, yep. Oh, wait, they've got upgrades. Oh, I forgot. The AI upgrades them. This isn't going to work. I have to restart the map. Oh, but Captain Thaitman is in this. But I already did it. Yeah, I've already done the Spectre, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's get an APC out here, and I need a vision unit. I could just make, you know what, I'm going to do a science vessel this time since that's the real way to go. Okay.
Research complete.
That science vessel out, and we're going to put him out here. We're going to get We're going to do 50 Hydras in the middle. And then we're going to do 200 Zerglings on the outside. That's a nice cluster of units. That right there is worth, what, 200 mineral of Zerglings plus... I'm tired. I don't feel like doing math right now. That's about 300 to 400 mineral worth of stuff, right? Well, the APC is a counter to that, and it's worth less than... It's right there, it's worth about 300 mineral. And APC is worth about 300 mineral worth of material, and that's at least 400 mineral worth of material right there. And I want to show you exactly why APC early on against Zerg is just rough. It doesn't make sense. I'm just going to run over these guys. Okay, so that did not go as well as I thought. Do you guys have upgrades? Hold on. Do you have upgrades? No, they don't. Would you look at that? No upgrades. Maybe I'm used to not handling so much at one time. Anyway, but you just saw how I took a big chunk of that group out with one APC just running them over. And that's... They also have a gun, you know, on top. So, you don't even have to run into the mob. I usually do. It's usually the best way to go. Oh, you know what? Yeah, if you don't take so much time, that's probably why. So, basically, that cluster... Armored personnel carriers do very well against early Zerg, Zerglings and Hydralisks. As a Zerg, the way you defend against this is Roach. I'm not even going to go into that mob with Roach. Not even going to. One Roach splash is going to get him melting with acid, and he's done. Banelings, also not going to... Banelings are like basically a landmine pretty much, and that APC is done. If you have any Roach or Baneling in a group of lighter units, APCs will, if they have any sense, they will stay away from you. They're not going to try and run you over. But if you're just Zergling and you just Hydra, you're going to get squished. And any Terran player who knows what they're doing, they're just going to keep squishing you. And that's it. A way to defend your cities against this is with Sunken Colonies. Let me give a demonstration here. I don't think I really need to. Kind of self-explanatory. And spine crawlers. Let's get another APC going because we're going to kill both these suckers. So this APC, he's just going around his business trying to find other things to smash. And he gets stuck, just impaled by the Sunken Colony. The Sunken Colony is a defense against Dragoons, against APCs, this kind of stuff. And you just witnessed why. It one-shots them. It outranges them. A Sunken Colony is an automatic stay away from my little guy. My little guy is you jerk. The Spine Crawler is also a decent defense, not as good as the Impaler, or the Sunken Colony. He has the same range as the APC. APC has 8, and Sunken Colony, or sorry, Impaler has 8. So if he were stupid enough to attack, let me just do this so you can see. I mean, you already know what's going to happen here. Yeah, I'm dead. That's it. Look at that. Didn't even do like 10% damage, maybe. So these two are good defense units against APC harassment. APCs are really kind of meant for punking your guys out in the field, keeping Zerg contained. That's what I was saying earlier. Is the Zerg they've got the fastest land units, so their ability to harass early on is right off the bat. The moment you're able to get an APC, the harassment usually comes to a stop, because now they're forced to have to get something like Roach or Banelings in order to keep in their group, to keep them from getting smashed. And once the Terran player has gotten APC, now the Zerg is usually forced to have to make at least a Sunken Colony at every base, or else that APC is just going to roll right in and kill all your workers. And just, I mean, he usually can't do anything to the hatchery. He doesn't have enough ammo or time. But he can keep all your workers dead. So these are your two good options. And as far as units go, let me just look at the little menu here. Yeah, Brutalists can one-shot them. Roaches keep them out. Banelings keep them out. Putras don't really work so well against these faster units because of how slow the egg flies. A Defiler, however, man, you can just spray it with acid and burrow, and that's it. Use Swarm, or use the Cloud, then spray with acid, then burrow. However you want to do it. So that is one other way. As far as air units, obviously, since the APC doesn't attack air units, a Mutalisk with a damage upgrade that you can get from the Spire. Right here, you can a Mutalisk. You can either choose to upgrade their speed by +2.5, which is quite a bit, but it reduces their hit points. Or you can have a Mutalisk with +1 damage. Or you can have a Mutalisk that has night vision. Okay. You can't have all three. You can only have one of these. So you have to make your choice. That +1 damage is enough to get through tank armor. It puts the Mutalisk at 5. So that's noteworthy because it used to be that Mutalisks couldn't do anything to tanks. They could just look at them. But with that one upgrade, now Mutalisks do have that option. You're giving up sight and you're giving up speed, but you're basically getting an assault Mutalisk is what you're getting. A Mutalisk that's a little better at assault than it was, as opposed to a little better at raiding with speed or a little better at scouting with the vision. So it depends on how you want to use the Mutalisk. So the APC has armor of 3. A Mutalisk with that damage upgrade will now do 2 damage each, so that is noteworthy. Let's talk about how Protoss and Terran deal with the APC. With Terran, you have... Okay, so the Marines are basically helpless against the APC if all you did was make Marines, because Marines have damage of 2, and the APC has an armor of 3. So the APC can run over the Marines no differently than the Zerg. In fact, let's do a demonstration. I'm so glad it's not skipping anymore, too. That was just hell when the video kept skipping. You've got a gun that kills them as it is. And look at this. Look at how much damage they did to me. 5 damage. My APC is a champ. Those Marines were toast. So, as you can see, there's definitely going to be abuse. If your opponent is trying to play this like vanilla Starcraft 2, and all he does is build 4 barracks or more at the beginning and pump Marines, you just make an APC and you run over him, and he's going to cry, and he's going to talk about how this game is jacked, and he's going to talk about how APCs are overpowered. He's an idiot. All he had to do was build an academy and do this. See these 2 stingers right here? 60 damage each. 80 hit points. It's done. Just like that. That APC is gone. So right here is a really good, fast solution to APC abuse. You just get an academy, you build stingers. And now his APCs aren't going to want to go anywhere near you, especially after he's already lost 1, because he knows, hey, this guy knows how to counter APCs as a Terran. He's got stingers out, and he's just going to kill my APCs. So that's one really quick way. I almost don't even feel like going into the rest of the Terran stuff, because it almost doesn't matter. Any of these tank options, other than maybe like a flame tank, or like a light tank, a battle tank, siege tank. I haven't talked about the mechs yet, and they're really cool, and I'll get to them. Most mechs and half these tank options will also counter an APC. An APC is meant to transport people, it's meant to transport supplies, and you can use it to run over light units. That's basically what the APC is doing. So as a Terran, just make stingers. That's it. For units, your auto turret goes mostly right through that APC armor. Auto turrets will keep an APC out. You don't even need a grenade turret. Will usually miss if it's moving. It'll miss. The APC can't do any damage basically to your bunkers. So basically, the only reason an APC would be abusing a Terran player is if they are only making Marines, and that is it. So that's a really quick tip for any players out there who are experienced and they want to know how to get rid of this new player faster and make them cry harder, is you just make armored personnel carriers. I don't know if this is a nice thing to do, but I mean, it's your call. They will hate the mod. They will hate the mod. They will say that the game is imbalanced. I've heard it a million times, and they are stupid people. That's all. They're fools because they don't know what they're talking about. Every time that happens, I always ask them this question: how many thousands of games have you played of this for you to know that that's imbalanced? For you to come to the conclusion that that's imbalanced? It just shuts them up because they know they don't know what they're talking about. They know they're brand new, but they just like to immediately say, oh, it's imbalanced. I've probably played this mod let's see, over the last couple years, I've definitely played at least 2,000 games. At least 2,000. I want you to think about that. 2,000 games, at least. I was doing the math on that about how many games I would play on average over the years, and I realized that it's probably at least 2,000. If I played at least 3 games a day, and sometimes it's closer to 6 to 9 games a day, I mean, we're talking a lot of games, all right? And a lot of times these players will come in. I gotta stop ranting here. These players will come in, and they've never played a single game, not one whole game all the way through, but they automatically want to just start saying what is or isn't imbalanced, and they're a joke. They're a total joke. They don't know what they're talking about. So, all right, so that was a very quick Terran solution to APC abuse. Let me get into Protoss. The Dragoon, right off the bat, if you can get an APC, you can get a Dragoon at the same time you get an APC, and that's all I gotta say, Dragoon. 2 shots, that APC's gone, so that's that. The Hunter actually does okay against an APC, but again, it's risky. You can probably lose a Hunter or 2, even though they're cheaper. But that little mini photon that Hunter has is pretty good against the APC, so if he's distracted, you could usually, if you've got a couple Hunters with some Zealots, that'll be enough to usually keep the APC. The APC's not going to want to attack Protoss anyway, just because its main weapon is smashing things. And Protoss are generally good. APCs are good at killing Archer spam. I need to mention this because a lot of young Terran players, they have a hard time with Archers. They will see just like 100 Archers, and they're like, crap, I can't make my Marines spam anymore. What do I do if I can't make Marines? So, grenade turrets, I already said earlier, are great defense against Archers. But another option you have is an APC, and you just run over the Archers. That's it. If the Archers are just by themselves. Now, if they've got Zealots, it's different. Again, it's always different if they've got different kinds of units and support. But if they're just spamming Archers, because I see new Protoss players will do this, because they've never used an Archer before, so they want to play with the new unit. So they make Archers, and they spam nothing but Archers. They'll do it even when I tell them not to, and because the enemy is doing nothing but making Zerglings. And I'll say, make Prisma Cannons and Zealots and live. And what do? They make Photon Cannons, because that's all they're used to from Starcraft 2. And they'll make Archers, because they want to use the new unit. And I'm like, you're going to die, because Zerglings literally counter both of those like better than almost anything. And all they'll do is they'll keep making the wrong kind. They'll keep making Archers, they'll keep making Photon Cannons, Zerglings beat them, and then they'll say Zerg is too strong before they leave. I literally, when I hear people make their rage cry before they leave, I heard it all. It's just so stupid. And I even advised them the whole way through how to live, and they won't listen, and they just want to do their own stupid thing, and then they'll leave a bad review for the mod and say the balance is all whacked. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, that's why I'm making this series, this tutorial. It needs to end. Now, granted, they're not going to come watch a whole tutorial. This is more for people who like to play it and want to learn how to play better, and maybe there's some things they didn't know. Like maybe they didn't know vultures were detectors or something like that, and they just want to learn. That's what this is really for, I think, for the people who understand the value of this game, and can see that it's a fun game to play. Once you know how to play, it becomes less abuse and more fun. It really does, because now it starts to feel like a chessboard. Once you know how to play chess, it's easier to play chess. And don't get me wrong, chess can be stressful, very stressful. In fact, what was it? Gary Kasparov was the one that said that chess is mental torture, or was it Bobby Fischer or Gary? I think it was Gary Kasparov. Yeah, Gary Kasparov said that chess is mental torture. And so, although chess can be fun, it can also be stressful. And it's the same with this Starcraft 2 Hardcore. It can be fun, but it can also be stressful because it requires so much thought. You really have to think. You have all kinds of different units with abilities and options, and you have to look at the situation, which is constantly changing, and always evaluate what is probably the best way to go. How do I counter what he has? How do I defend what he's got? And how do I defeat his city? What are his weaknesses? This sort of thing. It's very thoughtful, and so that's why I said this mod can be both very fun and stressful all at the same time. Now, against the computer, it's not that stressful, but against the human it is, because a human's strength is in position, how they use their units. A computer does not use their units well usually. They don't know how to. They make the right kind of units, but they don't know how to micro it like a human can. So that's why I say it's when you play against humans, it's very positional. When you play against computer, it's very material and building the right things and that kind of things. It's a different style. I would feel honestly, I would prefer to fight if my life were on the line. If I won or lost, I would prefer to fight against an AI only because they're predictable, and when you've played against it long enough, you understand how the AI is going to be. And as long as you can deal with all their force, you're okay. But with a human, I mean, they just do the most random crap, and sometimes it's amazingly bad, you know. Sometimes even when they do something amazingly bad, it's disturbing because it's like that could have gone really well for them if it wasn't for that one, thing, that one spore crawler that they forgot to kill before doing that drop, or that one thing they did not do. And that's usually when you play this mod, there's like kind of an ABC thing that you really need to do for optimum effect. That's how the whole game has been designed. So basically, like Anti-Nukes, for example, let's say your goal is you want to nuke his whole city. You've got a big nuke silo, like this one right here I've got selected. You got a big nuke silo, and you want to nuke his city, and you see all this stuff. Okay, I got these 2 anti-nukes right here. Okay. And then, like, you see what else is around it. You see, okay, there's a perdition turret. You scan, you see a perdition turret. You see so you kind of see the way the layout is, and you try to find a weakness. And the goal is kind of A, B, C. A, you want to kill the perdition turret, or you want to kill the, let's say he's got a point defense drone, okay, and you've got rocket artillery. A, you want to kill the point defense drone, so you're going to use a ghost to snipe the point defense drone. B, now you can use rocket artillery to metal rain this cluster right here and take out both anti-nukes with a single salvo. C, launch the big nuke, clear the whole city. A, B, C, cause and effect. This whole mod is designed around the idea of different units protecting and supporting each other in different ways, and so that way an opponent can remove those supports so that his attack is more effective. Yeah, so yeah, I'll leave it at that and move on to the next. What do we? Oh, here's a favorite of mine, is the Diamondback. The Diamondback. I don't use it a lot versus. I don't think I use it much versus Terran, but you can. It's not a bad unit versus Terran. I use this a lot versus Protoss, and I use this against Zerg who like to make Brutalisks like Supremo. Oh, he's got to have his Brutalisk out. Oh, that sounded wrong. Diamondbacks are skirmishers, as I said earlier. They're fast. Speed is 6.75, and the range is 35. They have an attack that is actually very effective against large units like an Ultralisk. In fact, let me get a Brutalisk out here. I don't think I've spawned one yet in any of these videos. No, I don't think I have. Well, I'm not going to do the Zerg thing yet. I'm just doing Terran today. So, and these things are taking so dang long. But I'm trying to be very thorough. So, you can literally just dig through this whole thing and be like, okay. Like, if you didn't know. So, the Diamondback and the Brutalisk have an interesting relationship because... let me get the range here. The Diamondback counters. Come on, let's go further so we know we're at the exact range. Here we go. So that is the range. Now stop. Don't hurt him anymore. So as you can see, this discharge ability, which is like an anti-tank ability, it's a one-shot, kills a tank in one shot. That's the circle right there of his ability. So the Diamondback is a form of a counter against the Brutalisk as long as it keeps its distance. And as you can see, it doesn't have a lot of distance to spare. So I mean, he's got to just shoot and back off against a Brutalisk. But yes, a Diamondback does well against Brutalisk. It also hard counters an Ultralisk. Because let's get one out here. Let me put it this way: a Diamondback does very well against massive units. That 100 damage, as you can see right there, versus massive, is very good. The fact that it has speed and range, what it's basically doing, the Diamondback is set up to basically, he's putting in headshots on this Ultralisk, boom. So like, one headshot. I need a really good set of the Diamondback. Always hits the head, now that I think about it. But that's just one Diamondback. And let's look at the costs here, so you can see how I've already brought this Ultra to almost half. A Diamondback is 250 mineral, 125 gas. And an Ultralisk is 1250 mineral, 250 gas. So you can see how one Diamondback is just, this Ultralisk is screwed as long as that thing is around. Now, how does the Zerg defend against that? It's the Mutalisk. Actually, there's a number of ways, but the Mutalisk would be kind of my first go-to thing. The reason I say this is because the Diamondback is fast, and because it's fast, I can almost guarantee you it is not going to stay with a group of Marines. Okay, it just doesn't want to. Diamondbacks are always out on their own, and I'm always guilty of this. Because they're so fast, you generally think, well, I'm going to get away from danger. Here's the problem. The Diamondback speed is 6.75, right? The Mutalisk speed is 7. So the Mutalisk will eventually outpace it. Now, if he got his speed upgrade right here, it adds 2.5. So he's almost 10 speed with the speed Mutalisk, and giving no hope to the Diamondback. The Diamondback has no armor, and these Mutalisks will just do 100% damage to this Diamondback. So how do you hunt Diamondbacks? Is with Mutalisks, a Zerg. If he is, like I say, surrounded by Marines, obviously you don't want to, and you're going to want to go a different route. What you can also do, let me see here. Well, let me stick to the Diamondback. I'm almost starting the Zerg tutorial here on how do you deal with Terran stuff as Zerg. So the Diamondback, as you can tell, it does well against large units. Brutalisks and Ultralisks are its purpose. I mean, it's one of the things it does for Zerg. It does not attack air units, though. It's ground only, so there is that. It's also good at, because of its range, 35, at taking out. Here's a photon cannon, range 20. Photon cannons, Prisma cannons, auto turrets, high Templar. This is a different kind of a different kind of artillery alternative. That is a thing that is harder to say 5 times fast than you. Artillery alternative. Artillery alternative. It is a different kind of artillery alternative to a siege tank. A siege tank just sits back and shoots from 100 range, but it can't hit moving targets. A Diamondback can hit moving targets with great accuracy, and it can also, it has 3 times faster rate of fire, weapon speed 5, and a siege tank. Let me get one out here so you can see it. Siege tank, we're going to put you in mode right here. We're going to put you in hold fire so you can mess up our guys here. As you can see, his attack is a 15-second delay, and the Diamondback is a 5-second delay. That Diamondback can get 3 shots in for the 1 shot that the siege tank does. So, if you've got 2 photon cannons, a high Templar, that kind of thing, this Diamondback is going to be more efficient than the siege tank is in terms of time. So he is the Diamondback is a strange mixture between a skirmisher and a siege unit. It does a little of both, and that's all it does. It's not really good at anything else. At nighttime, it doesn't have any vision, if I'm not mistaken. It has no armor. Why would you use this for assault? That would be sad. It's actually okay at recovering things because of its speed. So if you see a dropped mineral pallet, but usually because of its value, it's not worth the risk if there's something like nearby. You can use it as a scout in the daytime, but it's, again, there are better, cheaper units for scouts than the Diamondback. So it's kind of a mixture between a siege unit and a skirmish unit, all in the same unit, and it is a very valuable unit. A lot of the times, if you're having difficulty, it's because you're not using the right. There's a certain unit that you're not using that you need, and a Diamondback is one of those units that, especially for new players, they didn't even think about making it. Didn't even, like, it wasn't even an option in their mind, so they feel like they're being overpowered and they don't understand why. And it's usually because they're not making the right. Well, it is always because they're not making the right unit, and it's usually because they're not making a Diamondback. A Diamondback really is very valuable. So that's that. The SAM, Surface-to-Air Missile Launcher. This guy right here, he's a new one, but he's a very valued addition. Let's get some Mutalisks out here. This guy right here, his ability is range 35. That looks like it's a little more than 35. That might be 35. Let me make this a grenade turret so I can always... Okay, so that's 35. And I'm going to put him right here so I can make sure that it is the same. That. No, it looks like it's a little more than 35. Whatever. It's decent range. Anyway, it's kind of like a real world SAM that was like a shorter range missile launcher, and he fires a salvo. Let's get this going. So a whole cluster. So this guy right here, he's not the best unit against Mutalisk, but he's pretty good. You want to keep him away. Even though he's got 4 armor and the Mutalisks do 4 damage, meaning without that damage upgrade, the Mutalisks won't do anything to him. If they do have that 1 damage, the thing is, it's got a minimum range. It can't shoot anything right directly above it. So if the Mutalisks rush it, I mean, this thing is just screwed. Like, and they got damage upgrade, the thing is just gonna die eventually. So there is that. Even though it's best versus clusters of light units like you saw, because it does have this autocast missile ability, I usually keep the autocast off unless all the guy is doing is making Mutalisks. I usually like to keep it off just because I like to make sure I get it right and where I want it in the cluster, or that he shot at the Guardian rather than at the Mutalisks. Against the Guardian, it still does well. Let me show you. Even though it does more damage versus light units, it's good against all kinds of air units. This is just a ground to air boom. He just one-shot a Guardian. It has the same range as a Guardian, so that's risky, but the fact that he costs, let me show you the cost here, 300, 100, and a Guardian costs 400, 125. The fact that the Guardian costs a little more than the SAM, and the range is about the same. I think this thing is a little more than 35, though. I think that's why I bumped the range more than 35. That way it does outrange Guardian by a little bit. A SAM is still also a decent counter to a Guardian. Like I said, it's not a perfect counter. A better counter would be an air superiority unit where the Guardian... A hard counter, a really hard counter, perfect counter, is when the other unit can't even damage it, either because it doesn't attack that kind of unit or it can't ever get in range. That's a hard counter. A SAM is not a hard counter to a Guardian, but it's a decent counter. And it does keep Mutalisks out. So SAMs, invest in SAMs when you've got air problems, especially like against Zerg and got clusters. The missiles don't do so well against high-speed scouts flying around, but they can still sometimes catch them because the player is forced to micro his scouts or his wraiths to dodge the missiles for a couple seconds. It takes the aircraft out of the fight because he's spending time now having to dodge the missiles because the missiles do turn around. In fact, let me demonstrate that. If I can get them moving faster. See, they do turn around, and they're going to want to come around for a second pass, and so I got one of them got him. So the point is, that can go on for that long. At least 3 to 5 seconds. He's not even going to be able to attack anymore because he's trying to save his scout. So the SAM, it really is a good general purpose anti-air unit. And the reason why the SAM, let me get the Goliath out here. The SAM does lots of little missiles at kind of a medium range, and the Goliath does the same kind of attack as a missile turret at longer range. Its missiles right here range 80, not as long as a missile turret, but still 80, which is still good. But it has the same basically rate of fire, a little faster than a missile turret, and 25 for its damage. So this right here, the Goliath, well, I guess I'll get to it later. I kind of wanted to talk about how the Goliath and SAM different because they're different. Like the Goliath is better at like scouts and Banshees because it only needs one set of missile and it can put them out faster. The SAM is better against like Mutalisks because it fires all those little anti-light missiles. So overall, like if the opponent had like 5 scouts, both will work. But honestly, the Goliath I think will work better because of its range, and it will have more opportunities to take shots at the scouts. Usually, if the SAM is firing, it means he's in trouble. It usually means the scouts are close enough nearby to where they could probably even kill the SAM. The Goliath can usually be somewhere on another part of the map and not even be in danger and still be shooting at the scout, so they do pose more of a threat. If I was a Protoss player that wanted to go scouts, I would be more concerned about an opponent who had Goliaths than had SAMs, let me put it that way, because I understand that its range is going to make it more difficult for me to, especially at nighttime. The missile just comes out of nowhere and kills your scout, and you're like, damn it. That doesn't happen so often with SAM, so like I say, they handle different kinds of air units better. So I did want to bring up the Goliath missile attack on that just because how it relates to the SAM. So I'm going to move on to the next unit now. Yeah, I guess I could do the flame tank. You already saw a little bit of a demonstration of that. Flame tank is a really cool unit. Okay, so the flame tank is it's the fire bat of the tanks. It's really good at certain kinds of units and useless at everything else. Okay, fire. Let me get this thing going here. I could put, honestly, I could put 1,000 Zerglings if I wanted to, and I don't think it would make a difference. I'm going to put 500 Zerglings. I want to show you just the raw power of a flame tank. He runs them over and he melts them. Oh, you got to up for even with that, it still finishes them all off. So even now, I'm pretty sure they got upgrades by now. Yep, look at that. Okay, so here you are, later game. The AI will always be upgrading even when it's on a test map. It will always do that. Makes sure that it has certain upgrades by certain times. So here we are, 30 minutes in, and these Zerglings are doing +2 damage, so they're getting through tanks now. So even with upgraded Zerglings, that was 500 Zerglings. Let me turn that off. The flame tank was 250 mineral, 125 gas. So that was, even with upgraded Zerglings, it broke even against 500 Zerglings, the most cost-efficient unit in the game. Early game, it's not even fair for the Zergling, and it's not supposed to be because it's a hard counter to the Zergling. The Zergling damage can't get through the flame tank armor, and the flame tank just kills them. Just there's nothing the Zergling can do. The flame tank is a hard counter against Zerglings early on. Also Hydralisks. Hydralisks can't get through it. Marines can't get through it. Now Marauders would definitely stop it because Marauders are flame proof and their attack goes through the flame tank's armor. But the flame tank can still run them over, so that is something to think about. Let me get a flame tank out here so I'm not just. So I like to have it selected while I'm talking about it. I don't know why it helps. And yes, it is nighttime. This mod has day-night cycles. It's gorgeous, in my opinion. It makes it very cinematic, having night fights, day fights, morning fights, evening fights. It's much nicer that way, rather than just one time, always. Okay, the flame tank. The Stinger, obviously, is a clear counter to the flame tank. Outranges it and only takes 3 because of the armor. It'll take 3 Stinger missiles to kill a flame tank. So 75 gas worth of Stingers will kill a tank that is worth 125 gas, 250 mineral. So Stingers are obviously, look, anytime I talk about a tank or a mech, right, a Stinger is a counter. Like pretty much every time, except for the catapult, which you saw in an earlier video with its missile ability. Pretty much most tanks and mechs, a Stinger is a counter, period. So I don't even want to have to mention it anymore to save time. A Stinger is always a counter to a tank or a mech, just how it is. Okay, so there's that. In terms of other Terran tanks and stuff, basically any tank really any tank, a battle tank, a light tank, Cyclone, which I'm about to get to, any tank with a gun, any mech, basically, will counter it. I'll get to the mechs later. The flame tank is an anti-light vehicle. It's an armored vehicle that's anti-light. It cannot damage other tanks other than maybe running into, it can run over buggies and light vehicles, but it can't damage other tanks. So in that sense, it's helpless. It's very strong, like a fire bat. It's very good at a specific purpose, and it sucks at everything else. And so it's really good with a Raptor, as I showed in an earlier video. In combination with another unit that's very good at what it does not do well at, the flame tank is a very helpful unit. In a Zerg or Protoss game, it's one of the first units I make from the factory, depending on what they're doing. Because they probably still have lots of Zealots or Zerglings on the map, and why not? It'll clear them very easily. So that's the flame tank. Let's get to the light tank. People wanted to know, they said, why is the light tank more powerful than the battle tank? It's not, actually. It does have more range, but it is not actually. The battle tank is better for assault, and like I said, the light tank is kind of a combination assault skirmish in its own way. In fact, let me get a battle tank out here so I can compare the two side by side while I'm doing this, since it's kind of an equivalent. Obviously the light tank costs less. So the battle tank right here is doing 40 damage and 50 to either a massive unit or a structure, and it's doing it every 3 seconds. Okay, let me demonstrate so you can see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So, yeah. Now the light tank is twice as long of a rate of fire. Okay, so it's actually doing half the damage. It's not doing. It's doing 30 or 50. Light tank is doing 40 or 50, which means the light tank is actually doing 15 or 50 compared to the battle tank's 40 or 50. Okay, so just damage per second. The battle tank is putting more out. Someone's going to say, well, yeah, because it doesn't cost twice as much. It costs only about maybe 33% more. It's only about 33% more, but the damage per second is better. Also, that 3 seconds makes a big difference if you're going up like against a cluster of roaches. You can kill a roach every 3 seconds as opposed to this guy where it takes him every 6 seconds. So that also is something to think about. The light tank's extra 5 range though, see, because he has got a railgun. Boom. It allows him more range, and because his speed is right there 4, and battle speed is also 4, he can kind of skirmish other tanks a little bit. It gives him something unique. It's a light tank. Light. The word is right in there, light, like raiding or skirmishing, something like that. It's not as good at assault as a battle tank. Okay, so that means it's either going to get more speed or more range, something to that effect. It's kind of a mixture somewhere between a battle tank and a diamondback, which a diamondback has all speed, no armor, and good range. Stop. I didn't tell you to do that. Oh, that's fine. You can clean them up. Yep, you can clean them up. Go out, have fun. The light tank is somewhere between a battle tank and a diamondback. It's actually, literally, if those two had a child, it's right in between. So that's when people ask, it doesn't have as good of its range is 25, and the diamondback's range right there is 35. Its range isn't as good as a diamondback, but it's got 4 armor, and a diamondback has nothing. So it's kind of a mix between the two. And it kind of creates a unique purpose. I use light tanks actually against Protoss a lot, because even though it's only 30 damage and you're not getting the bonus from not being massive, you can actually, with 2 or 3 light tanks, Dragoons, get killed by these things, because even though it takes a little while, the fact that they've got 25 range and a Dragoon range is 15 to 20 with upgrade, and these things are twice as fast. Move speed 4 and the Dragoon speed is 2. So, I mean, they can skirmish Dragoons, and that is a counter. Like I said, it's got more range and speed than a Dragoon. It's a counter. It can counter the Dragoon, so there's that right there. It also has a... how do you put this? It does well also because it can kill Zealots. It's not very efficient against Zealots because of the ammo cost, but it can still do it. The light tank I found is just pretty good against Protoss. Against Terran, it depends on how you use it. You can use it to try to pluck out stingers who don't get their first shot off at the tank. Its range is 25, which means it's interesting because that means a Terran who's using stingers without the range upgrade will get hit by the light tank first. If they've got the range upgrade, then they can actually kill the tank first. So the light tank actually has a decent chance against stingers more than most any other tank. But it's still a tank, it's still going to get killed or countered by a rocket, and so it's as simple as that. The light tank, let's see, against Toss, they definitely hurt halberds. They can run over archers or skirmish them. If the archers, for example, were surrounded, or if the archers were mixed with dragoons, that's even better for the light tank, because the light tank, what the light tank does is the light tank shoots the dragoons until the dragoons are dead, and then comes to finish off the archers for free by smashing them. So there's that. So the light tank, because its range is 25, it can usually just get in. Now, a size storm from a Templar will kill a light tank pretty quick. Or any tank, really, for that matter, that's within its range. And because Storm's range is 30 or 35, I believe, something like that. Let me get a Templar out here. Because it outranges, I know it outranges the light tank, I just can't remember how much more. And it's also very similar to Diamondback. That looks like 35. Is that a grenade? Yeah, that's a grenade turret. Okay. Anyway, it's less than a Templar. The light tank's range is less than a Templar. So the Templar, if he sees the light tank coming, can storm and kill the light tank before the light tank gets a shot off. However, and it takes 2 shots because he's got 35 shields and 10 health. If he came in with 2 light tanks, he can one-shot a Templar. So this is an alternative to getting rid of a Templar than just the good old-fashioned siege tank one-shotting the Templar. So against Protoss, it does well against Dragoons, Archers, Halberds. It kind of is neutral against Zealots because, like I said, it can't run them over. It's not very efficient in its ammo. It also counters Hunters big time. Big time. This light tank, well, okay, not big time. I said too many big times. It does it well. And the reason I say the Hunter still has a chance because the tank turret, let me show you the speed of this turret. See, it's moving, but I mean, that Hunter could also be moving too, and it could be trying to chase that. And that Hunter's only got to turn and just get a couple of those mini foot. It's got to get 7. Let me do a quick test here. Let me see. All I know is the Hunter does have a chance, and it's usually more than one Hunter too. And considering the fact that Hunters are way cheaper than a light tank, Hunters can, if they are aggressive or smart about it, they can get in and they can kill that light tank before it gets a shot off. But that light tank, like I say, 30 damage, and let's get a Hunter out here. Because I can't remember where I put the other one. 20 shields, 15 health. So, let me see what this actually does, though, because sometimes the splash damage does something. Yeah, I figured it was a one-shot. Yep, because there's some splash damage. So, like I was saying, it's a good counter against a Hunter because he can one-shot him. However, if there's a lot of them and the tank is not positioned well, they could get around and they could actually shred that tank. So this is about who kills who first, but I would put my money on the light tank just because of the fact that it can one-shot them one at a time. And especially at night when you don't know where anything is and it's chaos. I just getting railed out of nowhere. Yeah, light tank is pretty good against Hunters. I'm trying to think what else is also good against. Where's the robotics? Dragoon does well against Dragoons. Immortals, it can. I mean, it gets through its armor once the shields are down. Reavers, not really. It can one-shot the Scarabs because its weapon is instant hit. Colossus, nope. Nope, Colossus outranges it. Colossus one-shots it. The Colossus will just wreck a group of light tanks. I mean, the Colossus will take some damage because it's a massive unit, so the light tank is going to be doing 100 damage per shot. But my the thing is that Colossus is first going to get its first shot off, okay, and then whatever's left is going to be able to fire, and then it's going to get its next shot off. So the light tank will do damage to Colossus, but if it's a human, if he's managing it, the light tanks are going to get wrecked by Colossus. So that's robotics. That's the rest of the ground for Protoss. Obviously, anything in the air that hits the ground is going to counter it. Let's look at other mechs, Terran stuff that I haven't talked about. Light tank. The light tank is going to counter most of these mechs. It just will because of its range. Except for with a wolf, maybe. The wolf has a missile ability that can one-shot a guardian or a tank at range 50. It's missile salvo. So there is that. It will not, the light tank versus a Punisher, yeah, it will counter the Punisher. Because the Punisher's too slow and it doesn't have range. The light tank has range over it. In fact, let me make one so you can see what I'm talking about here. Let me get him out here. Here's a Punisher. He can walk over hordes of units. He's got a pretty good weapon here, but his range is 20. His guns are 20. This little light tank railgun is 25, so he's going to get out here, and he does critical damage to massive units. Boom, got his headshot on. So he's already down to 635, and keep in mind, this Punisher is 1,000 mineral, 250 gas, and the light tank right here is 200 mineral, 50 gas. So you're looking at like you can have 4 to 5 light tanks one-shotting a Punisher. So a Punisher is pretty much hard countered by the light tank. And let's get you somewhere over here. So yeah, the Punisher is countered by it. The Thor, that's different actually. Although the light tank, because it does massive damage bonus to the Thor has got here this bad boy. It looks cool at nighttime. I'm sorry with the reflection. His default range is the same range, 25, as the light tank, and he can one-shot these light tanks. 1750. Now, granted, the Thor costs a lot. The Thor is 3,500. So, but in just a fight of just unit to unit, yeah, I would think the light tanks actually could do quite a bit per cost, and they would probably win per cost. I haven't tested that out because the light tank is one of the new units. But the thing is, the Thor is not meant to always just duke it out at close range. He goes into artillery mode like he is right now, and boom. See this strike location right here for the same cost as a siege shot? You could just pick a spot, and you can fire through the fog of war too, by the way. So if you have radar and see dots, you can just hit the dots. And the range for this ability is the same as a siege tank, I believe. I believe it's... No. I think it might be 10 or 20 less. I can't remember. I honestly can't. It's about a siege tank range. And so what I'm getting at is that changes everything. So even in a one-on-one fight with a group of light tanks versus the Thor, I'm not going to deny and say the lowest light tanks are going to do a lot of damage right off the bat with their first shot. They will. But the thing is, the Thor has the ability to just pummel these things from far away to where they're not even in the position to fight him one-on-one. So the Thor is a different kind of a situation. Yes, if you caught him off guard, and he has a slow turn. So they literally could have got their first shot off before he can actually get his first shot. And they can move, they can come back, they can shoot. So it's really how you manage it. So anyway, that's the Thor. Punisher, yeah, counters it. Wolf, maybe not because of the missile ability. Otherwise, yes. All the other mechs, I would say yes. The Kiwi could EMP him, but that's not a practical thing. So there's that. A Banshee is a really good counter versus a light tank, like any tank. It's a tank killer. A Banshee that's pretty much its purpose, is to kill units on the scale of a light tank. It outranges them, and they usually don't fight back. So there's that. So that's something to be afraid of if you're using light tanks, is that they go Banshees. So that's the light tank. I think I've done a decent job covering this one. I want to move on to the next one. I want to try to get this whole thing done for Terran sometime today. It's taken a while, but I'm trying to be thorough. Battle tank. Okay, so similar to the light tank in a lot of ways, but better against structures. Higher damage per second for structures, 50 damage every 3 seconds, as opposed to the light tank, which is only doing 30 damage every 6 seconds. So it is doing, and it's also more energy efficient for its attack versus structures. I do need to mention that the ammo cost for a light tank is, I believe, the same as a battle tank per shot. That advanced railgun is costing, I mean, he's got some range on it, and he's got that extra bonus versus massive units, but it's costing him 5 energy per shot, but a battle tank is only costing 4 energy per shot, so it costs less for a battle tank to shoot than it does a light tank. That is noteworthy. That's noteworthy because that means the battle tank can actually shoot at hydralisks and break even. As for the light tank, not really, unless he gets a cluster of them with the splash damage. So, the battle tank is better for taking down cities, structures. He can run over units, obviously, being a tank. He is basically, a battle tank is basically a siege tank that doesn't have siege mode. You're getting, when you plan on just using it just for his shoot and move, squish, and his fast rate of fire gun, that's what the battle tank is. It's a good unit. I mean, I can't say anything bad about it. It's really, overall, it's a pretty good unit. A Brutalisk, though, is definitely one of his weaknesses, that's for sure. And I didn't mention the Brutalisk light tank relationship, but it is there. It's the Brutalisk will kill one of the light tanks before the group of light tanks kills the Brutalisk, is usually how that goes. So that usually works out in the light tank's favor. The battle tank, unfortunately, is countered by the Brutalisk because the Brutalisk can see him when light tank can't. I'm sorry, when the battle tank can't. The Brutalisk can outrange him. His range is 20 and the Brutalisk range is 25. So, and he can one-shot him. Let me give a demonstration of this. And he's dead, just like that. So the Brutalisk is a tank killer. It's a support unit for the Zerg. No, it's not some overpowered thing. It's because the Zerg really have, before that ability, it was like the Dark Ages for the Zerg, where they really had a hard time dealing with armored personnel carriers, with tanks. There was like this void that the Zerg just needed a anti-tank weapon, and the Brutalisk really fills it just really well. And so that's why that is the way that it is. Someone's going to say the Brutalisk is so strong. No, it's just really good at what it does. It's not an assault unit, believe it or not. I don't mean to get on to the Zerg today, but anyway, battle tank. Let's get back to this, and I need a cleanup crew right here. Someone clean that mess up. Dead bodies around here. What else to talk about the battle tank as it relates to the light tank, since they're very similar? No, that's about it. It's kind of, I've already kind of covered a lot of it through the light tank. Against Dragoons, it is not good. Not as good as it could be. A Dragoon, which is doing 50 damage per shot every 1.5 seconds, and this is only doing 40 damage every 3 seconds. A Dragoon will kill a battle tank. Which is different from a light tank, since I just said that the light tank is really good at killing the Dragoon because of its extra range. As long as it skirmishes, yes. Now, if the light tank does not skirmish, no, the Dragoon is very good at killing light tanks that do not skirmish. The battle tank is pretty much in trouble with the Dragoon for cost, because it costs more than a Dragoon, but it is killed by the Dragoon. Just unit for unit, attack for attack. 100 hit points here, and let me get a Dragoon out here. Keep going to the gateway. Old habits die hard. 60 hit points and 50 shields, so it has 10 hit points worth more than a tank because of its shields. So there is that. Its damage is 50 damage every 1.5 seconds, and the battle tank's damage is 40 every 3 seconds. Someone's going to say, well, why the heck would I ever want to even make a battle tank when I could just make Dragoons? Because you're not Protoss, and you're Terran, and you forget the fact that the tank has 4 armor and can run over small units when a Dragoon is screwed. 0 armor. It cannot run over units. And it is move speed 2, while the battle tank's move speed is 4. So there are definitely very important advantages that the battle tank has, which justifies its somewhat higher price of 300 mineral, 75 gas, as opposed to the Dragoon, which is 200 mineral, 50 gas. The battle tank is definitely a stronger unit than the Dragoon overall, but I'm just saying in a 1 versus 1, the Dragoon will beat the battle tank. Period. I'm just turning off the heater in the background so there's less static noise. I think I've pretty much covered what it's used for. Structures. You take out auto turrets with it. You take out spine crawlers with it. You can punk ultralisks with it as long as you keep them moving. The ultralisk. Now there's another unit. It's a new Zerg unit. Let me get him out here. It's called the Nimbalisk. He's basically a lighter ultralisk. And this bad boy is just meant for... Now, he doesn't have a lot of armor, 3, but he can cliff climb. And he can run over units like groups of Marines. This guy is just... He's like a cavalry unit. He just charges infantry. And he can climb up cliff. This is scary, too, by the way, when you're in a game and you see a group of these. And not just one, but a group. Just climb the cliff. Like, you could be in a game in this mindset, like, I'm on the cliff, I'm safe, and then a whole mob of these just come up and just rape your city, and you're like, well, I have been raped, and I am not safe, obviously. So, anyway, what was I just talking about? Battle tank. Ow. Yeah, now, this guy right here, yeah, he moves speed 5.5, tank speed 4, ultralisk speed 3. This guy is going to catch the tank. Okay, he's going to catch him and he's going to eat the tank. The ultralisk right here, though, he's not catching that tank. Not when it's in full speed. He's not catching the tank. Now, if it starts moving, yeah, he might. So he can punk an ultralisk given enough time. But overall, the battle tank is it's a really good support unit for assault. It can run units over when it's safe to do so. Mines are obviously a big problem. That's another way you counter tanks as a Terran. You just have mines everywhere, especially if he doesn't have infantry. If you see a guy who's just using just mechs and just tanks, man, one mine that costs 5 gas can blow up that whole expensive unit like nothing, and that's a good way to counter people who do only tanks and only mechs. And I'm guilty of that. I will always try to have a group of infantry nearby to screen damage, to screen mines. I always try to, but sometimes I just don't. I don't know. I don't want to wait for the infantry to get there. And so I'll be one of those guys out there with just some mechs and tanks and using different kind of mechs and tanks, and boom, and I hit a mine, and it pisses me off so much because I know I've been countered. I have been countered by that dang mine, a 5 gas mine blowing up a 300 mineral, 75 gas tank just because he drove in the wrong spot. So, yeah, mines definitely counter tanks and mechs, especially when they're on their own. You don't have infantry to screen them. So that's the battle tank. As a Zerg, you can counter a battle tank with banelings. I have not made any here in these videos yet, so I will. And you want the speed upgrade. Without the speed upgrade, they're just kind of over-glorified landmines.
Research complete.
Let me make a couple of these here. You only need one, really. The melt is real. So anyway, the it doesn't say the damage, does it? No, it doesn't. Well, let me, that was not what I meant to do. I want to, never mind. It's usually the explosion is enough to get the battle tank down to like 20 health. I believe it's 80 damage, I think. But the acid that gets on it will then melt it to death. So one baneling hit will eventually kill the tank if it's not repaired. So banelings. Also, its turret. Let me so you can see the speed. That's the speed. So if he was like looking like in this direction right here, right where he is, that Baneling is going to blow him up before his turret is able to get around. So he's not even gonna. Just a lone Baneling can take out a lone tank. Banelings mixed in with a group that target the tank is a good way to counter it. Now his range is 20, so a Sunken Colony's range is 16. The tank will counter the Sunken Colony. So kind of like a Stinger, it is a support unit that helps you attack a city with defenses by just pummeling it with its cannons. But yeah, Banelings are a good way to take it out. I'm trying to think of things of similar scale. Usually a Putrefier can do well against one because it takes them a while to get started or turn around, that kind of stuff. So if you lob one acid bomb over, I mean, it's just here's the thing, he might actually squish it and run over the acid bomb, which causes it to explode too. So Putrefiers do well against battle tanks. And also, by the way, when I talk about a battle tank, I'm also going to talk about, it's the same as if I were talking about a siege tank in battle mode. They're basically the same thing, just more expensive. So there's that. But I gotta work on the scale here. There's something off about the scale. I didn't. It looks like the siege tank is a little smaller. You have to look into this here. But anyway, all the things that I'm discovering while I'm doing this is something else. Okay, so that's the battle tank. We got that done. The siege tank, I'm not going to talk about... Okay, the siege tank, all the battle mode stuff I've already just talked about, so that's covered. I want to talk about the siege tank in siege mode. Oh, what I didn't mention for either the battle tank... Well, it works for the siege tank too. Battle tank, siege tank, any tank. A Tempest is a nightmare for you. A Tempest is basically like a Protoss bomber. And it will one-shot most tanks. I know it says 75, but that's... I'm sorry, these buttons don't report accurately. It's 75 plus splash. Let me show you... Let me get rid of the battle tank here so you can see what I'm talking about. It one-shots tanks. Okay, and that's really one of the main reasons or purposes of the Tempest. The Tempest can kill a cluster of infantry, but it's kind of a waste of its time and energy. A Tempest is really meant for killing Dragoons, light tank, just tanks, mechs. All these pieces right here. Now, it's worth twice. It's, in fact, if you look at the cost here, 750 mineral, 250 gas. So it's worth almost about 3 times as much as a tank. So it's got to kill about 3 tanks before it's made cost, before it's actually served its purpose and is putting you in the positive. But that's very easy to do. I mean, as long as you don't fly him into a bunch of anti-air, he's gonna be able to kill tanks well, and that's really kind of what he does. And I'm sorry if I've gotten on the Protoss. I wanted to say it though, so when you're using tanks, you understand that a Tempest is a big threat to you, and you need to have some kind of anti-air solution nearby to keep Tempest from coming in and picking you off, because if you don't, you're just Tempest food. And you're going to go on about how Tempests are overpowered and the whole game's broken. I know, I've heard it a million times. Okay, so the siege tank it fires a projectile now. It's no longer instant hit, and that was a nightmare. I hated it. When it was instant hit, I hated it because I knew it was just not realistic. I knew it was... It just ruined the unit. It couldn't have either the damage or the... It had to be really crappy if it was going to be instant hit, because that's just ridiculous. That a unit could be 10 to 30 kilometers away, and it's going to bullseye it, and it's moving. And let's say that unit was moving like a vulture or something, is moving at like 150 or 200 miles an hour, and this siege tank bullseyes it like 10 kilometers away. Get out of here. So I hated how it was by default. I finally got it working with a projectile. So let me give you an example here. So he's got his slow turret, and that's intentional. And he's going to try and hit this guy, and he's not going to hit him. And I'm sorry for that animation. I have not synced it up with the speed. I really need to fix that so he doesn't look retarded. But he could probably... The only time he's going to catch him is if he shoots right when he makes it. So the siege tank... Let me stop him now. Stop the agony. The siege tank is basically here. Okay, here we go. 110 damage, 125 versus armored, 100 range, 15 seconds for each shot. it costs him 1 gas. I can't remember if the gas has been removed. I think it's still there. But it does cost 20 energy per shot, which means 20 mineral per shot. So if you think about that, if he's doing 110 damage, here's a spine crawler. 1, 2, so it's three shots to kill a spine crawler. That's 60 mineral and ammo. A spine crawler is worth 75 mineral. Let me pull it up right here so you can see it. 75 mineral for a spine crawler. So you break even on killing a spine crawler, basically. Saying it's you break even with a lot of basic stuff like pylons, spine crawlers. You do, however, counter units like a Sunken Colony right here. 125 mineral, 25 gas. So that's about 200 mineral worth of value, and it's going to take 3 shots. It'll take 3 shots. So 60 mineral will also nab a Sunken Colony. 60 mineral buys you a 200 mineral unit, so that's a good trade. So this is a siege unit. It's meant to take out defenses. That is its main purpose. It can also be used to take out key units that are still or very, very slow. Like if a High Templar, here's the thing. It depends on the distance, but if the High Templar is really far away, then no. The High Templar, even as slow as look at how slow he is. Look at that slow guy. Captain Slow. He makes me tired just watching him trying to move. Mr. Sloth. The siege tank, if he's really far away, he's not going to hit the Templar. Now, if he's closer, because the delay time is less, he can actually hit a moving Templar. So that depends on distance. But if a unit is moving, generally, I don't waste ammo on moving units with a siege tank. I will wait for them to stand still, or I will just pick structures, but I don't waste. To me, it's just a waste. You're just saying a marine unit costs 50 mineral. You're basically saying I'm going to spend 25 minerals on nothing. Every time you let it shoot at a moving target, you're basically saying I want to spend 25 minerals on nothing. Here's 25 minerals for nothing, thank you. So that's why siege tank is different how you use it now. It's meant for taking out, like I say, structures. Now, if you look at like a structure like a hatchery, it's obviously, here's a hatchery cost right here at 300 mineral. It's got 1,000 hit points, and 1,000 hit points means what? We're going to say with regeneration, 10 attacks. So it costs a siege tank 200 mineral to take out a 300 mineral structure. So you're gaining 100 mineral, and you're probably inconveniencing him, but really, that's only up 100 mineral. So it is more cost efficient to just send Marines in and use free ammo to kill a hatchery for free. Okay, that's why the siege tank is still a support unit. It still sieges defenses and that kind of stuff. But if you're gonna make, I've seen people do it. I mean, sometimes it works. If you've got a resource advantage on a map, then sure you can do it. But if you don't, or if you're in a free for all or something and resources are tight, and you're just not going to be able to afford to make like 5 or 10 siege tanks and keep them all in siege mode. I'm sorry, you're just not. But I've seen people do that. I've seen what's one of the characters who did that? Dead or Alive. That was the name of his character. Yeah, he every time we play, he would just love to make like 5 or 10 siege tanks, and he would just shell everything. And he was not on hold fire. He was shooting at lone Zerglings. I can't. I see that. I'm like, that must be nice to have that middle gold, to be able to do that. But we'll see, with those resources, he could have been saving up for a battlecruiser, so don't get me started on that. A siege tank is not some overpowered unit. It will not win you wars on its own. It is meant to help all of your other units accomplish their goals better. Like I said, it can pluck High Templar that are standing still alone. The defense against that, of course, is like a Dark Shrine, like next to a shield battery, and keep the Templar cloaked. I'll get Proton stuff later. But basically, he's good at taking out High Templar. He's good at taking out Putrefiers, Defilers, all these very important units that are just one-shot units. Even a Baneling is worth his time. A Baneling costs 25 gas. Here it is, 25 gas to morph. That Baneling right there costs 25 gas. He's going to spend 20 mineral to make his enemy lose 25 gas unit. Even a Baneling is worth his time. Anything beyond that is not usually worth his time. Zerglings, Hydralisks, it's not worth it. Zerglings definitely not worth it. Even in a tight group, not worth it. Hold fire. I highly recommend hold fire on siege tanks. I couldn't imagine not having hold fire unless I had like 30,000 mineral or something and I already had a battle cruiser. Then I'm like, ah, heck, it doesn't matter now. But even still, see, you waste your shot then. When you really need a shot, you don't have any tanks available because they just all wasted it on Zergling. So it's not even the cost, it's the time. So that's the siege tank. Gonna go to the Cyclone now. This is also a new change. The Cyclone used to be the SAM for this purpose, but because of the model and because this angle, his missiles are angled more level, but the Cyclones are angled up. I'm sorry, the SAM is angled up. So anyway, it's raining again. There's my science vessel shadow. Okay, so the Cyclone is a different kind of medium range, surface-to-surface rocket artillery unit. It's smaller scale. I'd give a demonstration of this earlier compared to the rocket artillery. But basically, let's get rid of that course maybe, huh? Not very good at that. See, it's good at, it's got some shrapnel explosions, and it's really good at taking out a cluster of infantry. It is not good at, well, ultralisks, brutalisks, things like this. It's more of an anti-light, medium range. It's good against Terran infantry. Let me put it that way. It's good against Protoss infantry. It's good against Terran infantry. It's wasted against Zerg infantry usually, especially Zerglings. You're wasting it. Look at the cost on this: 150 mineral and 25 gas. Okay, you would have to kill 150 Zerglings just to break even on the mineral cost. So, do you see now why I say it is wasted on Zerglings? It's only really kind of meant for more valuable infantry units. It does cripple vehicles, but it doesn't kill most tanks in one shot. Smaller vehicles, yes. Actual tanks, no. In one salvo, which again is almost the cost of a tank. So that's something to think about. 150 mineral and 25 gas. Look at a light tank cost right here. 200 mineral and 50 gas. So you're giving up almost the value of a light tank to not kill a tank, but to only cripple it. It's really meant better for high value infantry. If you saw a bunch of marauders, if you saw even zealots, it actually does well since their value per space on the map. That's really meant what this is better for. Also, it's good for getting around or for overloading anti-missile systems like missile turrets. I'm sorry, not missile, auto turrets. So, like, if you had one auto turret there, a rocket artillery unit, which I'm gonna get out here right here. A rocket artillery unit is going to lose his missile like every time because he fires one rocket. Let me show you. He fires. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I can't do that. The attack command is gone now. You have to right-click an enemy unit. Anyway, just pretend he fires one little missile and it goes over here. Well, the anti-missile system, whether it's a Prisma Cannon or auto turret, is going to shoot down the rocket artillery missile. Like every time. You're just throwing away gas. 40 gas, I believe, is in your price tag per rocket. Every time. So this is where the Cyclone comes in to do something different, because now when it just does that, those are going to get by. The first couple might get shot down, but the rest are going to get by. So it allows you to actually take out like a cluster of auto turrets. It allows you to get something by, and for a much cheaper price than Metal Rain for the rocket artillery. So that is the Cyclone. It is in terms of counters. Let me go through this here to kind of come up with a decent unit that would be good at. Let me see here. It's an artillery unit, so like, you know, most units with a Baneling is a good one. If you can get Banelings up to it. But the thing is, it's artillery. It's only a stupid player is going to have this right up on the front line, running out in front of his Marines or something stupid like that. If you see anything like that, you just throw a Baneling at it and it's done. Now, when a flame tank blows up or when a Cyclone blows up, they make a big explosion and they kill everything else around it too. So there's something else we're thinking. in terms of, let's see here, units that do well against it, it doesn't have an actual weapon, so that is worth considering. It has an ability, and yeah, you could have it on autocast, but man, I do not recommend that, let me tell you. It doesn't have a weapon, so if it's out by itself, man, you can upgrade your Zerglings. Their damage is 4 by default, and his armor is 4 by default, but if you do one upgrade, right here, this one right here, for 200 gas, 100 mineral, and if you wait a little bit, your Zergling is now able to do 1 damage to tanks, which includes the Cyclone. So you can actually throw, if you look at the cost of a Cyclone right here, that's not accurate. I'm sorry. This map has some kind of a bug where it doubles the price for some of these new units. It's I believe it's 250 mineral. But basically, you could throw 200 mineral of Zergling at him, and if you've got that 1 damage upgrade, that Cyclone is just going to get destroyed. So Zerglings do well, and they also do well against Cyclones because they're not a good target. The Cyclone has nothing to shoot. Like, if all your opponent did was make Cyclones, and that's it, just make Zergling. The reason I say that is because he's got nothing to shoot at of value. He'll waste resources shooting at your units, and then your units with that 1 upgrade will be able to tear him to pieces. See, Hydralisks, why would you do Hydralisks when you could make Zerglings? When Hydralisks, you lose more per salvo, and their damage is going to be very similar to a Zergling, but for more cost. So I would not do a Hydralisk as an option. The Roach, let me make some Roaches here let me see here, we'll do 24... Okay, we'll do 24 of these, and we're going to fire a salvo into the Roach to So as you can see, right here, all that armor on that Roach is not really affected. Now, if he fired a second one, yeah, but they're going to heal before he gets his second salvo off. So, you could say that a Roach is also a pretty decent unit to use against the Cyclone. I would still go Zerglings, though. I don't know why. Just their speed, you can get to the Cyclone better. They would have no reason to want to even shoot at you. For the Roach, they still did a decent amount of damage to those center units. But I think it didn't kill any of them. I didn't see any of them die. So, that's something to consider. The Cyclone has anti-light missiles. So the Roach does okay at dealing with them. Larger units like an Ultralisk or Brutalisk, but especially an Ultralisk with its armor, is going to not really be threatened by a Cyclone. The only thing is, the Cyclone dies when it blows up, so the explosion of the Cyclone dying would actually probably cause the Ultralisk more damage than any of its attacks. So there is that. Now here's an interesting idea here. So you have a Nimbalisk, which is 250, 500, which is a little more than a Cyclone. But he could just get in and just kill that thing and then get out. He might make it out. I doubt it, though. I want to see the explosion, see what kind of damage it does to him. Oh, no, he's not getting out. Nope. No, that's a one-way mission. If he gets in there to kill that Cyclone, you gotta assume he's already taken other damage from stuff around it. Okay, so that is one thing you can do if he is just being a pain to you. If you want to like spam Hydralisk and he just keeps killing clusters. Now, what a Cyclone can do, it can do the same thing that a Rocket Artillery can do in terms of taking out VIPs like Putrefires, Defilers. So if he's got a Cyclone and you're just sick and tired of him taking out your spellcasters, you could do something like that, I guess, like later game, obviously, once you have Ultras and all that, but you could just send a Nimbalisk on a one-way mission. He's got enough health and a decent enough armor and speed to get to that thing and run him over and blowing him up. You're going to lose a little bit of resources on it, but I mean, at the same time, you if he doesn't have that thing, then you can use your spellcasters in the field now with more confidence. So that's the Cyclone as a Zerg, countering it as a Terran. You could always use a nuke, attack nuke from a Ghost. That's always an option for any tank or any mech. I've never said that yet, but that's always an option. Just like how a Stinger is always an option against a tank, so is a Ghost firing attack nuke. That's not practical because that comes up later in the game to get a silo and all that, but for a Cyclone, most tanks that kill other tanks, like a light tank or a battle tank, are going to kill it. Also, a siege tank seems to do well because, well, the siege tank would need some kind of anti-missile system. I need to be careful when I said that. It does well at killing it, but the problem is the Cyclone. In fact, let me get a siege tank out there so you can see. I haven't actually used this on another vehicle yet, so you can see for yourself. So he's going to go into siege mode. Don't mind me, guys. Don't mind me. And I'm going to fire a salvo at the siege tank. Oh, that's bad. Yeah, those are anti-light rockets that the Cyclone fires. Look at that. That's ridiculous, isn't it? You know what? I almost think there's something wrong with that. Let me, I know they're supposed to be anti-light rockets, but I know they're at least supposed to scratch the paint. So, let me, how much armor is on this one? 4? Yeah, I wouldn't see why a Goliath would be any different. Armored mechanical. I need to look into that, why it seems like it didn't do any damage. Like, there's something... Okay, you've got 2 armor. Let me run you out here to die. Let's see, are you good to fire yet? Okay, let's try this again. 2 armor. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, there's your answer. The Cyclone right now, it was intended to be an anti-light rocket, so that it's different from the rocket artillery. Man, I might have to adjust that so at least it does something to a tank. I mean, I know it's like throwing a bunch of hand grenades at them, but still, you know, hand grenade isn't going to do anything to a tank really. But so you have it right there. You have an idea about what kind of units you can make to not die to a Cyclone. Basically armored units, and if it kills another tank, it'll kill a Cyclone. A Banshee is a hard counter against the Cyclone because the Cyclone doesn't attack it, and the Banshee will pretty much... No, it'll be 2 rockets at 90 health. Two rockets and it's dead. Banshee's a good one, so that's that. As for Protoss, obviously Zealots are going to get ripped. I'm kind of curious to see how Halberds might not do well though. I'll see how well their armor does. And of course it depends on armor upgrades too. Let's stop like that, and then let's get a cluster going here. Okay, so yeah, it does some pretty good damage to Halberds. It's kind of crazy. Well, their armor is 2, and they're armored. It is kind of weird if you think about it. They're armored, and their armor is 2. The rocket artillery was armor 2, and also armored. I need to look into why the missile damage is doing what it's doing. Basically, it's an anti-infantry rocket salvo. So, don't make infantry if he's going that way, or at least keep him safe for a while. That's going to just wreck archer clusters, no doubt. It's going to wreck archer clusters. Hunters should be safe if they're always moving, but if they're not, they're dead. Vindicators are going to get wrecked. Also, light infantry getting hit by a cluster. Tempest is going to obviously take them out quickly, but you can get to a Cyclone a lot before you can get to a Tempest. Let's see. Your Templar are going to be in some trouble because this thing kills infantry, Templar infantry. So, I mean, a siege tank can kill a Templar too, so with more range. So, I mean, that's not a big deal. If he can make a siege tank, he can make a Cyclone. If he can make a Cyclone, he can make a siege tank. It's really the same way of killing the same kind of unit. I mean, they both threaten a Templar. At least with what you call a Cyclone, the missiles can be shot down by a Prisma Cannon, but they don't even shoot down the siege tank rounds. So, I mean, you know, a Cyclone is just going to do a little more damage than the siege tank will to the stuff around it. but they'll both get rid of the Templar. So this is another anti-Templar solution. Let me just put it that way. But as far as Protoss, yeah. Well, of course, there's always the Dark Templar option, which always sounds good on paper, but usually never works out. You know, oh, I can always just get a Dark Templar and blow it up. Yeah, okay. See how fun that is navigating the map and getting to it and trying to stay alive. And after you lose 3 Templar to landmines, then you might just say, okay, this isn't quite working. But for the most part, something like a Cyclone, it attacks an area and there's a delay. So, you know, a Dragoon, which obviously if it can get up to the Cyclone, is going to kill the Cyclone very quickly. But again, it's got no armor, and if it's caught out in the open, it's going to get hit. In fact, Dragoons are usually the things I aim Cyclones at. Like, I don't even care about the Zealots, I'll aim it at the Dragoon. So, I mean, the Cyclone is a different kind of artillery option for a Terran, alternative to a siege tank, which is meant more for infantry and for clusters, while the siege tank is meant more for structures and like armored targets and stuff. Man, I'm getting tired talking about this stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, a Reaver will definitely wreck a Cyclone in every way, because the Reaver is armored, the Cyclone can't get through the armor, the Reaver outranges the Cyclone by at least 10, the range of a Reaver is 60, and that Cyclone range I believe is 50, something in that range. So a Reaver is a hard counter to a Cyclone. I'm going to move on to the next because I'm good with that. The Ballista, I'll make it, I'll talk briefly about it. A Ballista is basically, it's what's called an SPG. It's called a self-propelled gun. It's an artillery piece. It's not used like a tank is. It's just an artillery cannon. Let me get this thing. Tell him to do it. It's gonna start shooting at those roaches. I'll just let him do it too. Clean up all those roach. Basically, it's a siege tank. And let me get the price here so you can see it. 250 mineral, 50 gas, and a siege tank is 125. It's a siege tank without battle mode. It has a it can't shoot anything within a minimum range real close to it, but it has the same range as a siege tank, 100, which is 100. It does the same damage, and has the same rate of fire, and has the same cost. Now, some of those stats I might change up just a little bit. I'll probably keep the range the same, but the damage, the cost, that kind of thing, I might change it up a bit. They don't have to be the same, and variety is nice. But for the most part, the roll is the same. So I do need to say that. The roll is the same as a siege tank in siege mode. The one reason why they can be annoying is that if they lose vision of their target, they will want to go out to kill it. And so many times you'll see your artillery pieces, which are meant to be in the back, running out on the front line, and they can die just because you didn't notice how they're just running out to die. At least when a siege tank is in siege mode, it is bolted down to the ground, and if it loses vision of the target, it doesn't try to go find it. It will just stay where it is. So that is actually why I prefer siege tanks over this is user preference. The other thing is, you might only want one Ballista, and you might only be making it just to take out one Templar, and that's totally legit. You don't need the whole siege tank. You can only you'd only have to spend the 250-50 as opposed to 400-125 to do the same exact job. And once it's done, I mean, the Templar's dead. You assault the city. That's it. You didn't even need it. So if you plan on sieging, I don't know. Me personally, I like siege tanks more. If I'm going to just be sieging for that purpose, putting them in the middle of the map and so on. The other thing to consider, though, is your opponent. If your opponent is like Protoss and they've got Arbiters, and they're recalling your tanks, you've got more risk on the line. You know, it would be better he recalled, a Ballista or two and killed those than recalled a siege tank or two and killed those. That would be pretty rough to lose 2 siege tanks. Also, spread them out. If you've got tanks, I know you want to keep them all near a depot. Spread them out. Because if you're playing against any reason, just anytime you see a cluster, there's going to be a cluster. Well, F, you know what I mean. So spread them out, because if he's using arbiters, for example, he's going to recall two. He's going to recall 2 for the price of 1. If you got him spread out, he only gets 1. I remember as a Protoss player, a lot of times I'll look at him and be like, I mean, I can get that tank, but I would really rather wait to see if I can't get both. You know? And so that goes on. Is he about done? Look at how many craters this guy. He's trying. Get that roach. Get him. Alright. So that's the Ballista. It's really nothing overcomplicated. It's just kind of another artillery option. It's like siege tank light, you know? Siege running the tank. He can run units over, and he does have... Oh yeah, he's got 3 armor. Why has he got 3 armor? I mean, well, I know there's a reason why. It's probably Mutalisks or something. I don't know. I'll have to look into that too. Why is this SPG 3 when most SPGs are 4? They have the same armor as a normal battle tank. So this is tanks. This is tanks. I'm going to stop this video here and start recording the next. And the next one is going to be about mechs.